Hello everyone and welcome to lecture number 4 in the series of lectures on Economic Survey 2021-22. We are going to take up a very crucial topic today, which is industry and infrastructure. This is chapter number 8 of Economic Survey. This topic is very crucial because this is one such topic where the government of India has undertaken a lot of reforms, and it is one of the thrust areas of government policy in last few years, specifically under Atmanirbhar Bharat package and the current budget also. The government of India has laid a lot of emphasis on this particular sector. So guys, as we have been following a system whereby before we start the analysis of any particular topic in economic survey, we always start with a blueprint of that topic. So let us start with the blueprint of industry and infrastructure. So see, we are dividing the topic on industry and infrastructure into 3 different parts. All right. So the first part of the analysis would only be about industries. Under the first part, when we discuss industries, we are going to divide the discussion on industries in 2 segments. Number 1, in this side, we are going to look at the performance of Indian industries in last 1 or 2 years. All right. And how do you check performance? To check performance, you need to look at some of the indicators or measures of performance. So for example, if I have to look at your performance in your school or college, what do I look at? I look at your mark sheet, right? How much percentage did you achieve? Similarly, if we have to look at the performance of Indian industries, we need to look at some of the measures of performance. Which are those measures of performance that we are going to look into? So we will look at IIP, Index of Industrial Production, ICI, Index of Core Industries. Then we are going to look at GFCF, Gross Fixed Capital Formation. Simpler term for GFCF is investment. So we are going to look at investment. Then we are going to look at credit. Credit means how much money is going into industries. It shows whether industries are performing or not. Because if industries are not performing, they won't take money, they won't take credit, simple. Then we are going to look at corporate finance, which means whether our businesses are making profits or not. And then towards the last measure of performance, we are going to look at the performance of public sector enterprises or government companies. But when we discuss the performance, right, before we do that, we would do a very, very basic analysis of what is the meaning of industry in India, what are the different, components of industry in India, what is the importance of industry in all the sectors of India. So this we are going to do in the fact sheet. All right. So this is the first part of the discussion of the industries that we are going to do. We will start with very basic discussion and then we'll look at the performance. When we come to the second part of the industries, we will have a look at some of the most important industries of the Indian economy. For example, steel industry. We are one of the global leaders in the production of steel. So we are going to look into how the steel industry in India has performed, and if there are some problems in the Indian steel industry, and what solution has the government provided for that. Fine. Similarly, we are also going to look at coal industry. India has the 4th largest coal reserve in the world, and we still depend on coal for our energy. So coal is a very, very important industry in India. We are going to look at its performance. Then comes MSME, micro, small and medium enterprises. It's called as the backbone of the Indian economy, very, very crucial sector. It provides a lot of employment, it has contribution in export, so we'll look at its performance. Then we look at the textile sector. They say that India is one of the global leaders in textiles, but unfortunately, there was a competition, growing competition of India with Vietnam and Bangladesh. So we are going to examine if India has lost out in that competition, or has India done something to remain in the game and become internationally competitive in the textile sector. All right. So we will examine the government policies in textile. Then we are going to look into electronics. One of the ambitions of government of India since so many years has been to convert India into global hub of electronics. This was our dream. But there were problems in the Indian economy because of which we could not realize our dreams. So we are going to examine why India could not become the global hub of electronics and what is government of India doing today to convert India into a global hub of electronics in future. All right, so that is what we are going to examine here. If you remember, the last year's economic survey series that we created for you, you would recall that I had told you that India is called as the pharmacy of the world. Now, in this lecture, we are going to examine the fact whether India still continues to be called as the pharmacy of the world. What is the performance of pharmaceutical sector in India? What are the problems faced by Indian pharmaceutical sector? And what is the solution given by Government of India? We are going to do all those things. So this will complete our industry section. Having completed industry, we would come to infrastructure. Under infrastructure, we are going to examine the first important thing, which is the role of infrastructure in a country like India. India is a developing economy, right? If you take other developing economies also, India, Brazil, China, if you take all these developing economies, the role of infrastructure is very crucial. We are going to examine what is that role. And in fact, this particular point was asked in UPSC mains this year. So we are going to examine it. Having understood the role of infrastructure for the economy, we would then start to examine what is the performance of infrastructure sector in India. So we would cover roads, railway, telecom, civil aviation, port, inland waterways, electricity and renewable energy. These are all the parts of infrastructure in India. We are going to examine how India has done in these infrastructures. While we are discussing industry and infrastructure, we would put a lot of emphasis and we would give a lot of importance to some of the important policies launched by Government of India in the field of industries and in the field of infrastructure. I'll give you some examples. So for example, disinvestment policy by Government of India. Similarly, something called as monetization, national monetization pipeline, then national infrastructure pipeline, then PM Gati Shakti, production linked incentives, Bharatmala, Sagarmala, Udan, and a lot more different government policies and schemes which are working to improve our industry and infrastructure. We are going to analyze all those things in this section. All right. So let us start with industry. Inside industry, let us start with fact sheet. So guys, this is your fact sheet related to Indian industries. Let us see what is there. So, whenever you earn income, it is called as personal income, right? Whenever a country earns income, it is called as national income. So, suppose the national income of India is 100 rupees, right? Just 100 rupees. What is the contribution of agriculture in our income? 18.8%. So, out of 100 rupees that India earns, the contribution of agriculture is 18.8. What is the contribution of industries in our national income? 25.9 rupees. What is the contribution of services? 55.3. So which sector is contributing the most in our income, in our national income? Services. Almost 50% of our income comes from services, but industry is not very far behind. Industry is improving. See, it's almost close to 26 and agriculture is 18.8. Now, whenever you say that we are talking about Indian industries, so what are the components of Indian industries actually? So whenever you say industry, what are the components that you are referring to? So Indian industries can be divided into the following components. Number 1, manufacturing. Number 2, mining and quarrying. Number 3, construction. Number 4, electricity, gas, water supply and other utilities. These are the 4 important components of Indian industries. We just discussed that the contribution of industries in our national income is 25.9%. See, 25.9%. This. Out of this 25.9%, what is the share of manufacturing? 14.4. What is the share of mining and quarrying? 3. Construction 5.8%, electricity, gas, water supply and other utilities 2.7. If you add up all these things, you will get 25.9%. So what is the contribution of industries in India's national income? 25.9%. What is the contribution of manufacturing? 14.4%, mining and quarrying 3%, construction 5.8%, electricity, gas, water supply, etc. 2.7%. This is the contribution of the components or subsectors of industries in our national income. All right. Now, one of the important questions that UPSC can ask you is, which subsector of industries contributes the most to the national income? So the answer would be C, manufacturing, 14.4%. And which sector contributes the least in our national income? 2.7%, electricity, gas and water supply. So whenever you are appearing in UPSC, just a few weeks prior to your prelims, you can update these figures from different government websites. Now, what was the growth rate of these subsectors of industries in the year 2021, right, last year? So the growth rate of manufacturing was 12.5%, mining and quarrying 14.3%, construction 10.7%, electricity, gas and water supply 8.5%. And what is the overall expected growth of industries, overall industries, which means this overall industry in 2021? So 11.8%. All right. And what is the growth rate of these components? 12.5, 14.3, 10.7, 8.5. All right. Now, if you look at a timeline, which means starting from 2019, this is pre-COVID, mind you. This is COVID and this is post-COVID. So if you look at this entire timeline starting from pre-COVID, COVID to post-COVID, you will see that our industries, this is industry. Our industries were growing in a positive manner, but they started to become negative. See, they became negative. This is zero line. So the rate of growth of industry became negative during COVID, and then it started to pick up, and currently it is going up. So our industrial growth rate from positive became negative, and now they are recovering, almost V-shape. But there is one subsector of industry where you would not find negative rate of growth due to COVID. Which was that subsector? See, what are the different subsectors of industries? Manufacturing, mining and quarrying, construction, electricity, gas and water supply, etc. During COVID, this particular subsector of industry did not become negative. Rest were affected, but this was not. Why? Because see, whether there is COVID or there is no COVID, whether there is crisis or no crisis, are you going to stop consuming water, electricity and basic services? No. Basic things? No. So basic things that we all consume, like water, electricity, etc., we are not going to give up on that. Hence, they cannot become negative. So look at this dotted line. So during COVID, they also showed little reduction in growth, but ultimately the growth picked up. So electricity, gas, water supply, etc., these utilities, they will anyway be used by people whether there is COVID or there is no COVID, right? So that is one thing which can be asked in UPSC in your prelims. Now we are going to look at some of the performance measures of industries. So guys, see, we are going to study two very crucial concepts which will help us to understand whether the industrial performance was good or not up to our expectations. See, I'll tell you one of the very basic things. If you want to judge whether the performance of industries is good or not, one of the very simple ways is to look at what was the industrial production in a particular year compared to the previous year, isn't it? So if our industries are producing the same amount of goods, that means the performance is decent, isn't it? So how to measure the production level in the industries? So see, we have two ways to do it. This is called as factory output growth. How do you measure if industries are producing enough of goods or not? One way to measure is called as Index of Industrial Production, IIP, and the second way to measure the output of industries is Index of Core Industries, ICI. Now, what is Index of Industrial Production? I'll give you a very simple explanation. So see, let's do one thing. Let us go to different types of industries or industries belonging to different sectors. So if you take sector as the benchmark, how many sectors can you think of in terms of industries? For example, mining. Mining could be one of the type of industries. Second could be manufacturing. Third could be energy, means electricity. So let's take three different types of sectors in the industry. Now, all these three sectors of the industry would produce different type of products, isn't it? So for example, manufacturing, whatever you see around yourself, it is manufacturing only, isn't it? And then when you talk about mining would give you things like coal, etc., minerals, and then electricity. So do one thing, from manufacturing, mining and electricity, take a lot of products, take a lot of items. Let's say around 800, 900 items we are taking. Put all those items in this basket. Close to 800, 900 items, put all those items in the basket. Why 800, 900 items? Because these are the most important items which are produced, right? So if you talk about sectors, from different sectors, put those items in this basket. Look at the production level of those items in the month of February 2021, which means last year, 2021, same month in which we are talking today. So look at the production level of those items in February 2021. Suppose how much was the production? Let's say 100 kilogram. What was the production level of this basket of goods? 100 kilogram. Now let us look at the production level or output of the same basket of goods this year, February 2022. Alright, this is your basket. So suppose the production level is 120 kilograms. So earlier it was 100, now it is 120. So has there been an increase in the production? Yes, 20 kg increase. So IIP, which means Index of Industrial Production, it measures what is the level of output of selected number of items which are being produced in a particular sector in the industries this year compared to some base year. Base year means reference year. So we are measuring what is the production level in February 2022 of this basket of items compared to the base year. What base year have we picked? Last year, right? It will give a good idea of whether industries are doing good or not. So see, what did we do? We took up some sectors, we took their products in the basket, and then we checked out what was the quantity produced last year, what is the quantity produced this year. If there is an increase in the quantity, we will say our index of industrial production is going up. We can do a similar exercise by taking items from different industries, not sector wise, but we can also take some items use wise. For example, so we can remove this entire thing. So guys, we can also look at the production in our industries based on the use of goods. So for example, there are some goods which are very primary in nature, which we extract from nature and we directly use. Agricultural crops, many crops are there which we directly use. Some crops we process, some crops we don't, right? Similarly, we extract some minerals and we use it. So there are some primary items. Then there are capital goods. Capital goods would be machinery, equipments. Yes, they are also one type of goods. Similarly, infrastructure. So when you construct roads, bridges, etc., etc. Similarly, intermediate goods. So what are intermediate goods? Intermediate goods are not directly consumed by people. They are converted into something and then they are consumed by people. So if you talk about different type of goods in the economy based on use, you can have so many types: primary goods, capital goods, intermediate goods, infrastructure, consumer durables, non-consumer durables like TV, fridge, refrigerator. There are so many types of goods. Take these goods and put it in this basket, right? How have you selected these goods? These goods have been selected not according to sector but according to use. Put them in the basket. Look at their production level in February 2021, for example. Then look at their production level in February 2022. If there is an increase, we will say index of industrial production has increased. If they don't increase, we will say index of industrial production has reduced. All right. So did you get an idea about how to use, index of industrial production to find out if our industries are performing well or not? Yes. So what are the two types of index of industrial production that I have taught you? So you can calculate index of industrial production. See, index of industrial production in two ways. One, by sectors, which means take mining, manufacturing, electricity, take their items and put it in a basket and check the increase or decrease in quantity. Similarly, if you want to find out index of industrial production by use, so take different items by use that you see in your industries, put them in a basket, look at their production. So by use, how many types of goods are you taking to create index of industrial production? Primary goods, capital goods, intermediate goods, infrastructure, construction, consumer durables and consumer non-durables. Now when you created that basket, guys, do you remember you created this basket, right? In this basket, when you put something, do you give equal importance to all the goods? No. If you consume something more, you give more importance to it. So when you create index of industrial production based on sectors of the economy, what is the importance that you give to mining? What is the weight of mining products? 14.4% in that basket of IIP. In this IIP, what is the importance of mining? 14.4%, manufacturing 77.6%, because we use more of manufacturing products. And then what is the weight of electricity? 8%, total 100%, right? Now, if you do IIP calculation based on use of the product, then what is the weight given to primary goods? 34%, capital goods 8.2, intermediate goods 17.2, infrastructure or construction 12.3, consumer durable 12.8, consumer non-durable 15.3%. This is the weights given to these items by use. All right. Now, so we understood how to construct index of industrial production. One is by sector method, one is by use method. Now let us look at the performance of these sectors of the economy based on IIP, right? So look at mining. November 20 minus 5.4, which means negative. Performance was negative in the month of November 2020. Why? Because of COVID. Now 2021 positive. Similarly, look at the performance of manufacturing, negative, here positive. Electricity, yes, it reduced, but it remained positive. Look at general. So general IIP was negative in November 2020, but in November 2021 positive, which means IIP from negative it became positive, right? So this is the improvement in IIP. Now, if you look at the IIP based on use, let's see how it behaved. So primary goods from negative it became positive, capital goods negative, it was more negative, it became less negative, so improvement. From negative, intermediate goods became positive, infrastructure improved, consumer durable, see here there was some problem, and then consumer non-durable, yes, it improved. So if you look at this entire thing, you will observe that there are total 23 subsectors. All right, there are total 23 subsectors inside this group, overall 23 subsectors. Here generally all of them did well in the year 2021, all of them did well. But who was a very good performer in the year 2021? Which subsectors were mainly good performers? So pharmaceutical, computer, electronics, transport equipment, wearing apparel, they are the top performers. In this IIP, these are the top performers. Because see guys, if you look at manufacturing, there are so many types of manufacturing. So overall in IIP, there would be so many subsectors. In those subsectors, these are the ones who did well. Fine. Now, let's come to see this. What is IIP? So index of industrial production, what does it do? It takes basket of items and then it finds out that what is the production level in the economy on monthly basis of that basket. Fine, monthly basis. What is the base year that we generally take for IIP? 2011-12. This is the base year we take. But if you are comparing today's industrial performance with last year's industrial performance, then last year becomes the base year. But generally we take base year to be 2011-12 for IIP. So who releases the data related to IIP? NSO. Right? Now, as I told you that if you take a basket like this and if you put industrial products there, you can check the production level and it will give you a good idea on a monthly basis that what is the performance of our industries. But don't you think that doing such an exercise is a challenge because you are taking so many products from industries. Can you do it at a small level so that you can get a quick idea of how industrial sector is doing in the economy? Yes, we can do that. So in this basket, you have put so many goods, right? 800, 900 goods. Don't do that. Instead of just doing this big exercise, do one more thing. If you want a quick idea about the performance of industrial sector of the economy, do one thing. From this basket, take out a few goods which are the core sectors of the economy. For example, steel is the core sector, coal, electricity. These are core sectors of the economy because if they don't do well, entire industrial sector will collapse. It's just like body and soul. So if this entire basket is your body, inside body there is a soul. Soul is the very important part of it, right? So how many such sectors are there which are the core sectors of the economy? There are 8 core sectors of the economy. Those 8 core sectors of the economy, they form 40% of this big basket. So take out that and create a new basket. So this basket is nothing but a small part of this only. And how many sectors are there inside this basket? 8 core sectors are there. Now do the same exercise which we have discussed, that take a basket, put 8 core sectors, look at the performance in February 2021, look at the performance in February 2022. It will give you a good idea of how core sectors have performed in the economy. So which are those core sectors? Let's see. So petroleum, electricity, steel, coal, natural gas, crude petroleum, cement and fertilizer. These are the core sectors. So in this core sector, the basket, so this box is that basket. What is the importance or weight given to petroleum? 28.04%, electricity 19.85%, steel 17%, coal 10%, natural gas 8.98%, crude oil petroleum 6.88%, cement 5.73% and fertilizer 2.63%. UPSC might ask you that in our 8 core sectors, which sector has been given the maximum importance or weight? So the answer is petroleum, right? So if you look at the index of core industries, which means the performance of these 8 sectors only, it is called index of core industries. This is how it has performed. So in November 2019, this was the performance of this index of core industries, 8 core sectors. Then April 2020, see, it came down and then it moved up. Now, why have the index of core industries gone up? Especially because of steel, cement and natural gas. So see, steel, cement and natural gas, because these 3 have performed very well, hence our index of core industries are doing well. Now, if you are a policy maker and if you see that your steel, cement and natural gas sectors are doing well, what would you conclude? If the demand of steel and cement is high in the economy, see, it has started to increase in the economy after COVID. What does it show? It shows that construction sector is reviving, which means the demand for new house or house repair, etc., real estate, it is going up. It's a good thing for the economy. Why? Because if the construction happens, then demand for steel, cement, etc. will also happen. It will lead to more employment. Also, whenever you create new properties, new infrastructure, it leads to generation of more employment in the economy. So it's a good thing, right? So the demand of steel and cement is going up. It shows that construction is being revived. All right. So as I told you that we will measure factory output through 2 index of industrial production and index of core industries. Now, index of core industries, as you can see, measures the volume of production in 8 core sectors. It is also released on monthly basis, but note guys that the figure for index of core industries are released before IIP is released. So this one is released first, IIP is released later. Why is this released first? Very simple. Because it only talks about 8 sectors, so it's not difficult to release. It gives a quick idea about the production level in the industries. All right. So guys, now let us look at 2 very unique ways to measure the performance of industries. One is called as the capacity utilization, this side, and one is called as RBI's business expectation index. Let me explain what these 2 things are. So now imagine that normally you can lift a weight of 100 kilogram. Like you are very strong, isn't it? So you can lift a weight of 100 kilogram under normal situation. But suppose today you lifted only 50 kilogram. Can I say that you have just used half your capacity, 50%? Yes. Now similarly, suppose that your capacity is to lift 100 kilogram weight, but today you are lifting only 20 kilogram. So can I say that you are using only 20% of your capacity? Yes. Whenever you use less capacity, right? So can I conclude that you are not in best of health? Maybe that is the reason that you are not using your best capability, or you are not in best of mood? Yes, absolutely correct. Similarly, if the capacity of Indian industries is to produce 100 kilogram output, whatever it is, suppose 100 kilogram production is the capacity, but they are producing only 30 kilogram, which means what is the capacity utilization? Only 30%. And what is capacity utilization? Capacity utilization would mean that their potential is to manufacture 100 kilogram, but their actual output is only 30. So actual by potential into 100 is called capacity utilization. So what is the trend of capacity utilization in India, before COVID and after COVID? Let's see. So around 2019-20, this was our capacity utilization. Because of COVID, it came down to 40%. So we were not using 60% of our capacity, it was unused. But then after COVID, our capacity utilization increased to around 70%. Currently it is at 60. So it reached 70 after COVID, which means that somehow, if you look carefully, somehow in the first wave of COVID, our industries were impacted very badly because of lockdown. But in the second wave of COVID, if you see, our capacity utilization has come down, but our capacity utilization in the second wave of COVID is better than the first wave, which means in the second wave, our industries faced COVID in a much more stronger manner. Also because the lockdown was not very stringent, right? So this is what we conclude from it. What does capacity utilization tell you? So capacity utilization tracks the pace of manufacturing activity in the economy. So this is all about capacity utilization. Now let me tell you something about RBI's Business Expectation Index. What is that index? So for that, let us take an example. So suppose, guys, I am converting milk into ice cream, right? Now, if you want to find out that whether I expect the economy to be in a good shape, you should come to my factory and you should check how much raw material, which means how much milk am I storing, what is the level of ice cream that I am storing to be released in the market. You should also look at how many people am I employing in my factory, because if I am employing more people, that means I am a businessman, I am expecting that demand condition in the economy will be good, which means my business will be good. So if you really want to find out expectations related to business in the economy, do a survey, go to different industries and check what is the level of employment that they are creating, what is the amount of raw material they are keeping, what is the inventory they are keeping, and how much is their capacity utilization. If their capacity is to manufacture 100 ice creams, how many ice creams are they actually manufacturing? So if you are genuinely interested in finding out what is the expectation related to business in the economy, you can do a survey and you can go to different factories and businesses and find out what is the level of employment, raw material, inventory, all these things there. And this will give you an idea about what will be the expected performance of businesses in next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Who does this thing that I have just described? Reserve Bank of India. So Reserve Bank of India does a survey and finds out what is the level of raw material, employment, capacity utilization in different businesses of India. Based on that, RBI finds out what is the expectation related to business or demand in the economy for next 3 months, 6 months, etc. This is called as, RBI's Business Expectation Index. All right. So how has the Business Expectation Index of RBI been performing? See, in 2019, this was the Business Expectation Index. In 2020, due to COVID, it came down, see, and then it started to pick up, which means after 2021, the first wave of COVID, our businesses have expected that demand will return in the economy will do well, and there is a general sense of optimism in the economy in the business sector. That is what RBI's business expectation index is showing. All right. And by the way, even before this economic survey, this news was published in the newspaper a couple of months back, where RBI talked about business expectation index. Now guys, we are going to look into something very, very important. You would have heard these things in the news a lot. You would have read this in the newspaper also. What is the level of investment in the economy? It's very, very crucial, isn't it? So for example, if you don't invest your time, your emotions in your preparation for competitive examination like UPSC, how will you get good result? If you want to get good result, you have to invest your time, your emotions, everything, right? Similarly, if we want our GDP to grow, we want to create more jobs, we have to invest in the economy. We have to invest capital, money, machines. We have to do these things. Only then GDP and employment will grow. So what is the level of investment? Now, suppose guys that look at this circle. So suppose this circle is the total investment in the economy. And the technical term for investment in the economy is gross fixed capital formation. When you buy new machine, when you buy new equipments, it is called as investment, gross fixed capital formation. So suppose that in our economy, we buy new machines, new equipments worth ₹100. So 100 is the total investment in the economy. So whenever we invest 100 in the economy, what is the contribution by industries? How much is invested in industries? Almost 30 to 33%. This is generally the investment level in industries. If investment level in industry comes down, that means there is some problem in the economy, right? So what did we observe? We observed that, in 2019, the investment level in our economy, in the industries, see, share of industrial sector in total investment. So if 100 rupees was invested in the economy, contribution by industries was 30.1% in the year 2019-20. But in the year 2018-19, the contribution of industries in the total investment in India was higher. Which means even before COVID, investment in the industries was down. From 31%, it became almost 30%. So investment was coming down. Now, what is the share of different subsectors of industries in the investment? Overall investment by industries is 30 to 33%, right? Now, what is the contribution of manufacturing, electricity, construction and mining? So whenever we say that industries have invested in the economy, investment has happened through industries, we should also know which subsectors of industries are contributing more in the investment in economy. So manufacturing 51%, electricity 23%, construction 21%, mining 5%. So if somebody will ask you which subsector of industry is experiencing more investment, manufacturing. Which subsector of industry is experiencing a decent level of investment, electricity 23%, third number construction 21%, mining 5%. This is the level of investment which is happening in these subsectors. Overall, what is the level of investment happening in industries? So 30 to 33%. Fine. So which is not a great sign, by the way, because our investment level in industries is coming down. This is a thing of worry. Why is it coming down, by the way? So whenever the government takes a lot of time to give clearances, if basic infrastructure is missing, if there is governance related issues, only in these kind of conditions, if our industries are finding it very difficult to take loan from banks because banks are suffering from NPA problem, there is some crisis in the banking, suppose. Because of these things, investment level in the economy is coming down. All right. Now guys, let us look at something very interesting. It is called credit in industry. Now, what do you mean by credit in industry? So credit in industry would mean that how much money is being demanded and how much money is flowing in the industrial sector. So if you look at the year 2020, the rate of growth of credit in industry was minus, which means it's negative. So industries were not demanding credit, lot of credit. But if you look at 2021, the rate of growth of credit is 4.1%, which means lot of money is being demanded and money is flowing into industries now. Why? Because economy is coming out of COVID kind of lockdown. We are coming out of it. So there is demand in the economy. So industries are asking for money because they will produce more goods and services. So if you talk about industries, which are those industries which are asking for more credit? So mining, textile, petroleum, coal, nuclear, rubber, plastic, infrastructure. Here more money is flowing in these kind of industries. If you divide Indian industries into different parts, like large industry, micro and small industry, medium industry, isn't it? So in which industry more money is going? In last 1 year, where has more money gone? Large industries. And then micro and small, and then medium. So in UPSC, they might ask you this question in prelims, that which industry took more credit after COVID lockdown started to be normalized. So large industries are taking more credit, then micro and small, and then medium. This is the trend. Now guys, let us look at foreign direct investment. See, why do we need foreign direct investment? We need foreign direct investment because our own capital is not sufficient. Our domestic savings and investment are not sufficient, so we need the help of foreign capital. Whenever somebody brings foreign direct investment, they also bring technology, management, good practices, experience, all these things, right? Suppose I have a company in India and I am allowing foreign direct investment in my company, right? Somebody from US wants to invest in my company, called as foreign direct investment. Would I allow it? Maybe. Why? Because suppose Mr. Bill Gates wants to invest in my company, and what am I doing? I am manufacturing ice cream. I will let Mr. Bill Gates invest in my company through foreign direct investment because he will bring good technology, management practices, experience, etc., etc. So if you look at the foreign direct investment in India between the year 2000 to 2021, which means in 20 years, last 20 years, what is the total foreign direct investment that we have received? $764 billion. 60% of this. So total foreign direct investment that we have received in last 20 years is $764 billion. But close to 58 or 60% of this money we received just in last 7 years, which means between 2014 to 2021, we received close to $440 billion. So in last 20 years, we got this much. In last 7 years, we got 60% of this. So in last 7 years, the amount of foreign direct investment has been huge. Why? Because in last 7-8 years, the government of India has taken a lot of steps to liberalize foreign direct investment. We have started to reduce the control. It doesn't mean that earlier foreign companies or foreigners were not interested in investing in India. We were putting more controls. We have started to loosen up the control through reforms. Hence, more FDI is coming. Now, what are some of the reforms that have been undertaken in the field of foreign direct investment? So we can categorize the reforms under two parts. Number one is to increase foreign participation, and number two is to protect opportunistic takeover. Let me explain what these two types of foreign direct investment reforms are. So guys, let me give you a basic idea about foreign direct investment first. You see, imagine that there is this person in US. He wants to invest in India. So what are the different ways in which he can invest in India through foreign direct investment? There are some sectors in India whereby if somebody wants to invest from a foreign country, first they have to take government permission. So this guy, if he wants to invest in India, there are two routes available to him. This is number one, this is number two. The first route is called government route because this guy first has to take permission of government of India and then he can invest in India. So foreign direct investment can come through two routes. Number one is government route where you have to take prior permission from government of India. There is another route. This is called as automatic route, which means you don't have to take prior permission from government of India. So if a foreigner wants to invest in India, there are some sectors where they can directly come and invest in India without taking prior permission from government authorities. This is called automatic route. So earlier, the government of India had reserved most of the sectors under government route, which means whenever foreigners were coming to invest in India, they had to take permission in most of the sectors. Automatic route was very small. So the number of sectors where investment was allowed through automatic route was very, very less, right? So what have we started to do? Now Government of India has started to take reforms whereby we are allowing foreign direct investment, mostly, almost all the foreign direct investment, not everything, but almost a majority of foreign direct investment now is coming to India through automatic route. This is the reform. So let's see what has happened in last 1.5 years. In the field of defense, guys, up to 74% foreign direct investment can come through automatic route. More than 74 can come through government route. So defense is a strategic sector. So the Government of India says up to 74% foreign direct investment can come through automatic route, more than that through government route. In the field of insurance, up to 74% automatic route. These are the new reforms which have happened. Then let's look at petroleum and natural gas sector. Up to 100% foreign direct investment in petroleum and natural gas through automatic route. In telecom, let's see, this is a new development. In telecom, up to 100% foreign direct investment can happen through automatic route. And Government of India has also established FDI monitoring cell to speed up the process of foreign direct investment and to remove any hurdles that is being faced by foreigners in investing in India. All right. So you must remember these, because any of these can be asked in UPSC prelims. Now let us look at, this other type of reform that has happened in the field of foreign direct investment. This is very crucial. Let me tell you the context and the story. When COVID started, there are many factories, many companies who were shut. They could not perform well. Why? Because they were not getting raw materials, there was strict lockdown. So there are many factories and industries who could not perform. When you are unable to perform, what happens? The valuation comes down, which means earlier you were a very valued company. Now nobody is valuing you that much. Why? Because you are not able to produce, your supply has reduced, you are suffering losses because of COVID, so your value comes down. When the value of a company comes down, its share prices also drop, isn't it? What has China started to do? So during the COVID, when the share prices of the companies were dropping globally, China was going to different countries of the world like Australia, France, US, UK, and Chinese investors, they started to buy the equity shares in many companies of the world. When you buy equity share, you actually become one of the owners of the company, because equity share gives you ownership and voting rights. So Chinese investors started to buy equity shares across many countries of the world. This is called as, opportunistic takeover of the companies. So suppose I have a company in US, I am a US guy. Chinese investor would come and buy shares in my company when my share prices are low. This is opportunistic takeover, right? Because in normal situation, they were not buying the shares. But when they saw that the share prices are low, they started to buy it. And tomorrow they will start to have influence in the company also. Government of India also took note of it. What happened in India is, Chinese investors, they were able to buy 1.01% shares in HDFC. When they were able to buy 1.01% shares in HDFC, the Government of India came to know about it. The moment the government came to know, the government changed our FDI rules and the government introduced a new rule. See, whenever you introduce a new rule, you cannot target a particular country because that is against WTO norms. You cannot target somebody. So what did Government of India do? Government of India wanted to prevent opportunistic takeover of Indian companies. Government did not want that during the period of slowdown and crisis, Chinese investors should come to India and start to buy equity shares, which means start to control Indian companies. So what did Government of India do? Government created a new rule whereby government said, if you are a country which shares land boundary with India, and how many countries share land boundary with India? 7. Look at these please: China, Pakistan, Bhutan, Myanmar, Afghanistan, Nepal and Bangladesh. These 7. So the Government of India, instead of saying China, they said, if there is any country which shares land boundary with India, if foreign direct investment is coming from that country to India, it can come only through government route. Which means foreign direct investment from any of these countries cannot come directly to India through automatic route. It has to come through government route. This is the new change which happened. And when something comes through government route, government can easily keep a track. And if government feels threatened, they can deny it. They can say that, okay, we won't allow foreign direct investment for some period of time when there is crisis, etc. So this is not against China. So what we have done is we have created a policy which looks as if we have created a generic policy. This policy doesn't look anti-China. But you know why we created this policy? Because we wanted to prevent opportunistic takeover by Chinese investors in India. All right, so these are the reforms that you should keep in mind for UPSC. Now guys, let us look at the performance of public sector enterprises, which means the government companies. So there are two types of public sector enterprises, one which is owned by central government, one which is owned by state governments. One which is owned by central government is called CPSE, Central Public Sector Enterprises. So let's look at some basic facts for fun. So who owns the CPSE, Central Public Sector Enterprises? The central government. How many operational CPSEs are there? 256 operational CPSEs. How many of them are listed in the stock exchange, Bombay Stock Exchange, National Stock Exchange? 58 public sector enterprises, CPSE, are listed in stock exchange. What is the total employment they provide? Direct and indirect employment, 15 lakhs. This is the employment that they provide. Now guys, if somebody will ask you that what is the new PSE policy, Public Sector Enterprise Policy 2021? So you should say that the philosophy of the government in the new Public Sector Enterprise Policy is minimum government, maximum governance, which means Government of India is saying we will not interfere in the industrial sector. Our presence will be minimum, but we would make sure that we regulate and govern in an efficient manner, which means physical presence of government will be less, but through governance and through other reforms, government would regulate the industrial sector. This is the new philosophy, which means minimum government direct interference, and maximum governance means government would try to regulate things in an efficient manner. This is the philosophy. So what has Government of India done in the new policy, new Public Sector Enterprise Policy 2021? Government is dividing the different sectors of India into two parts, strategic sector, non-strategic sector. What do you mean by strategic sector? There are 4 sectors which are called as strategic sector according to the new list of the government. National security is strategic, critical infrastructure strategic, energy and minerals strategic, and financial services are strategic. There are 4 sectors which are strategic. In these 4 strategic sectors, how many industries or how many sub-sectors are there? Total 7. Example, atomic energy, space and defense, transport and communication, power, petroleum, coal and other minerals, banking, insurance and financial services. So these 7 subsectors that you see, these are a part of these 4 broader strategic sectors. So if somebody will ask you how many categories are there in the field of strategic sector in India, you should say there are 4. These 4. Inside these 4, how many strategic subsectors are there? These. These belong to these 4. Government of India says that other than these, whatever is left in India, whatever sectors are left related to industries, they are called as non-strategic. Example, textiles. Textile you won't see in this list. So textile would be a part of this one, right? So the Government of India has said that wherever there are public sector enterprises, which means government companies are there in the field of strategic sector, wherever those companies are there, government is going to minimize its presence in strategic sector, which means suppose that in these sectors, strategic sectors, there are 25 public sector enterprises. So the government is saying that we will not have 25 public sector enterprises now. We will reduce it to hardly 1, 2 or 3 government companies. That's it. So in the field of national security, if you see that there are 25 government companies which are working, government says we will reduce the number to minimum 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that, not more than that. So the government is trying to reduce its presence in the strategic sector. And government says the number of public companies in the strategic sector will be minimized. Here the government says in the non-strategic sector that government of India is not going to operate in the non-strategic sector. So you will not see government of India in the field of textile in future. Government says in future we are going to withdraw from non-strategic sector and we will let the private sector dominate the non-strategic. And in strategic, government will remain there, but in a very small way, not in a huge way. All right, so this is the new public sector enterprise policy of India. So now guys, we are going to look into the corporate performance. So let me give you a very basic idea about what we are going to study here. So suppose guys, you have a pen which you want to sell. Suppose the price of this pen is 100 rupees. So when you sell this pen, I will ask you a question, how much profit did you make? So after selling this pen, if you made a profit of 2 rupees, I would say good, not an issue, nice, good profit. But suppose some crisis-like situation happens in the economy. Would you be able to get a lot of profits? No. So when there is economic slowdown or crisis-like situation, if you sell a pen for 100 rupees, your profit will not be 2 rupees. You will have to, settle down with less profit, which means you can't sell the pen at 100. You have to sell the pen at 99 rupees, right? So if you want to check whether the performance of the industries is healthy or not, one of the ways is to find out that whenever an industrialist or whenever a business enterprise is selling its product, let's say they are selling it for 100 rupees, what is the profit you are generating for every 100 rupees of sale, right? So if your profit keeps on moving up, as I sell more pens, if I am able to generate more profit, it means there is good demand in the economy. That is why people are buying my product and I am able to get more profit. So every time I sell a pen for 100 rupees, what is the profit I am generating? This ratio of profit by sale, it gives an idea about what is the demand level in the economy and if things are healthy or not. So we have observed, this I have taken from economic survey. So if you look at 2016, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, 20, 21 and 21, 22. If you look at the period around COVID, you will see that the ratio of profit to sale was down. You see, it was very low. Ratio of profit to sale was low. But then you see that even when we were suffering from crisis, the ratio of profit to sale kept on increasing slowly, see. And now if you see around 2021, the ratio of profit to sale is decent. It's good. What does it show? It shows that despite COVID, our firms could handle the shock well, which means Indian companies, whosoever were in the business of production, manufacturing, they were able to handle the COVID kind of situation and crisis kind of situation relatively better than others. That is why your profit to sale ratio is still very decent. During COVID, ideally your profit to sale ratio should come down, but here it was increasing slowly. And it's a good increase, and it shows that our industries were robust and they were able to withhold and withstand crisis to a great extent. All right. Now we are going to examine, as I told you, now we are going to examine, after having done the basics, we will examine some of the important industries and how they performed in India in the last 1 or 1.5 years. All right. Now, before we get into these important industries, let me give you a brief idea about production-linked incentives. Now, we have already spoken about it in the previous video related to economic survey, but nevertheless, let us recapture that idea and then let us get into the important industries. So see guys, suppose this is a company, right? Now, suppose this company was able to sell worth 100 crore of its products. So when this company sold its product, what was the sale revenue that it got? Almost 100 crore rupees in the year 2019. Suppose in the year 2020, when the company sold its product, it made 140 crore rupees. This is the sale figure, 140 crore rupees. Now, if you compare 2019 and 20, you will see that the sale of this company has increased by 40 crores. Earlier it was 100 crore worth of sale, now it's rupees 140 crore worth of sale. It has increased, 40 crore extra sale. Government of India says that if you are such a company and if your name figures in our list, we are going to give you incentives because you have performed well. So the government of India, for example, decides to give 10% incentive. It could be anything, 4%, 10%, 12%, depending on the industry. So suppose 10% is the incentive which government of India has decided to give. So this is the incentive. So what will the government of India do? So 10% of extra sale is 40 crore. So 10% of 40 is 4 crore rupees. So the government of India is going to give this 4 crore rupees to this industry. What will this industry do with this 4 crore rupees? Buy better raw material, better machine, improve the quality of the product, right? And do some research and development and create something better. So if you keep supporting industries like this, through schemes like this, then our industries will become globally competitive. They can manufacture at a larger level, higher level. And when you manufacture at higher level, when you manufacture more, your cost of production comes down, right? So employment will be created, export will increase. These are the kind of things that will happen. This scheme is called as production linked incentives. So the incentive that you are getting is linked to the level of your production and sales, right? So now in that context, let us start to examine some of the important industries in India. So let us start with a very basic industry called as steel industry. So, if you look at this steel industry, some basic facts. So it is one of the largest, India is one of the largest steel producers in the world, all right. So steel industry is one of the core industries. Do you remember when we started this lecture, we talked about index of industrial production and index of core industries, remember? So steel was a part of core industries. Now what is the issue with Indian steel industry? The issue is something called as specialty steel. What is specialty steel? There are some varieties of steel which are used for specific purposes, like in defense. You use very high quality steel called as specialty steel. So specialty steel is something which is used in some specific sectors, and India imports a lot of specific steels. This is the problem. So the government of India thought, why not create a scheme so as to promote manufacture of specialty steel within India, all right? So let us see what are the different things that the government has done. So some of the policies that the government has adopted for steel sector is production linked incentive for specialty steel, and how much is the government giving as incentives under the production linked incentive scheme? 6,200 and 6,322 crore rupees. This is the amount which the government is going to give under production linked incentive for specialty steel. See, so this will promote a lot of manufacturing of specialty steel within India. The second scheme is called as domestically manufactured iron and steel products, DMI and SP. What is this? Guys, there are many government companies, public sector enterprises, which are also in the business of manufacturing. They manufacture a lot of things. Public sector enterprises. There are times when the public sector enterprises also need to buy steel, right? When they buy steel, they can buy the steel which has been manufactured in India, or they can buy the steel which has been manufactured by foreigners. So the government of India is saying that if the requirement of Indian public sector enterprises, which means government companies, if the requirement by government companies for steel is greater than 5 lakh rupees, which means if government companies require steel worth more than 5 lakh rupees, they have to buy that steel which has been manufactured domestically in India. Right? So if government procurement of iron and steel is more than worth 5 lakh rupees, then the government is saying you have to prefer domestically manufactured iron and steel. Now this scheme started in 2017, Between 2017 and 2021, you know how much steel has been bought by government companies so far? The steel which has been manufactured in India, worth 21,000 crore of Indian steel has already been bought by government companies in India. Imagine if government companies were buying steel manufactured outside India, this entire 21,000 crore Indian money would have gone outside India. But thanks to this policy that we have, procured steel which has been manufactured within India, and this is the amount which went to Indian companies. Now, under this domestically manufactured iron and steel products, research and development is also being promoted. Government is also promoting research and development to bring new technology in the field of steel production. These are some of the policies. But what has been the general trend of steel production before COVID, after COVID, and today? Let's see. So let's first talk about the global production of steel. So according to World Steel Association, in the year 2019, global production of steel was very high. In the year 2020, the global production of steel reduced, right? In the year 2021, there is recovery in the demand for global steel. Similarly, if you talk about Indian steel, in the year 2019, India was manufacturing good amount of steel. In the year 2020, our production of steel came down. In the year 2021, we are in the recovery mode. All right, this is your steel sector. Now let us talk about coal industry, very interesting industry. So see, India has 4th largest global coal reserve. We are number 4 in the world in terms of coal reserves. Now for its energy requirement, India depends a lot on coal. So 55% of India's energy needs are met through coal. This is the importance of coal. Half of our energy requirement is met through coal. So coal is used in the production of electricity, coal is used as fuel for domestic consumption, coal is also used in industries. So 55% of our energy needs are met through coal. Now if you look at, what is the contribution of coal in electricity? So let me show you this chart. So this is electricity generation in India. Let us look at the contribution of different things. So nuclear energy, its contribution in India's electricity generation is 3%. RES means renewable energy, like wind energy, solar energy, these things are 10%. Hydro energy means water, right, through turbines. And this thermal energy also includes coal, right? So here you will see coal as a part of it. So if you see carefully in the electricity generation, the contribution of coal is in this block, very high contribution. Coal, diesel, all these things, they're all part of this. So this is nuclear, this is renewable, this is hydro, and this is thermal, which also includes coal. So it's a major source of electricity generation in India as well. Now let us look at some of the reforms and policies. You see, the production of coal in India in the year 2021 is more than 2020. See, 2021, it's higher. Now there is a draft policy called as Draft National Electricity Policy 2021. In this Draft National Electricity Policy, something very interesting has been told by Government of India. Government of India has said that yes, we understand that we should not use a lot of coal because coal is a fossil fuel and coal creates pollution also. But Government of India has made it very clear that it's a cheaper source of electricity generation and we cannot immediately do away with coal. We cannot completely remove coal overnight. So Government of India has said, yes, we will try to generate more electricity through renewable energy sources, etc. But the use of coal will not become zero overnight. We would continue to use coal, yes, lesser coal in future, but coal would be an important source of electricity generation also, which is mentioned here in this draft policy. All right. Now let us talk about pharmaceuticals. So what is pharmaceutical? What is the status of it in India and how is it progressing? So you see, let us talk about some basic facts related to pharmaceuticals. See, volume wise, if you talk about the production level of pharmaceuticals, India has been ranked number 3 in the world. Talk about medicines, we are number 3 in the world. In terms of export, This is a very rare commodity where our export is more than import. So the export of medicines by India, pharmaceuticals by India is more than imports, which means we sell more, we buy less, which is very good for balance of payments. India, in fact, is the largest supplier of generic drugs. Generic drugs are cheaper drugs, right? So India is the largest supplier of generic drugs in the world. So 20% of the global generic drugs are Indian drugs. Now, what is the specialty of Indian medicines? The quality of Indian medicines is very good, superior, and the prices are relatively lower compared to other countries. All right. So because of these two, you see, because of these two, India is also called as the global pharmacy of the world. Now, let us talk about foreign direct investment in the field of pharmaceuticals. Right. So, is the world interested in putting money in the Indian pharmaceutical industry? Yes. See, in 2019, look at this, please. In 2019, this is the level of foreign direct investment in pharmaceutical. In the year 2020, right, it increased like this. And what was the increase in foreign direct investment? In our pharmaceutical, 200% increase. And then from 2020 to 2021, it increased by 53%. So you see, foreign direct investment in our pharmaceutical has been increasing by a very, very high speed, right? And why is it increasing? Mainly because of COVID-related medicine demand. India has been manufacturing a lot of medicine. Because of COVID-related stuff, the demand for Indian medicine has increased in the world. Hence, foreign direct investment has also increased. Foreigners found it very profitable to invest in Indian pharmaceuticals. But do you think that Indian pharmaceutical is free of problems? There is no problem in the Indian pharmaceutical industry. There are problems. Today, we are number 3 in the world. We can be number 1 if we solve a few problems. I'll give you some examples. You see, whenever you have fever, you would have heard people saying that, take paracetamol, isn't it? So paracetamol actually is an ingredient. It's a composition. It's the most important component of the tablet which controls fever. So paracetamol has a property that it is able to reduce the body temperature and control fever. So what the companies do is, the drug manufacturing companies, they take paracetamol as a raw material and they add some binding agent, some liquid, etc., and they convert that paracetamol chemical into a tablet, a syrup or something to control fever. So paracetamol is the basic ingredient actually, or the component of that tablet which is able to control your fever. India is one of the largest manufacturers of medicines, right? But India is not having sufficient raw material. We don't have sufficient paracetamol chemicals. So what do? We import a lot of chemicals, we import the raw material and then we manufacture medicines. And for the import of raw material, we hugely depend on countries like China, which is not a good thing. So don't you think that government of India should create policies so that we also promote the manufacturing of chemicals within India, the raw material within India? Yes, this has been our problem number 1. And government has already brought in some solutions. So let us examine it. See, so what are the issues related to pharmaceutical? There is something called as bulk drugs or active pharmaceutical ingredients, API. What are these? These are nothing but raw material. I gave you an example of which is paracetamol. Paracetamol chemical, that is called as bulk drug or API, active pharmaceutical ingredient. So these are the raw materials which are used to manufacture drugs, tablets, capsules, syrup, etc. We import them a lot, we don't manufacture them. So what are the government initiatives? What has Government of India done to promote it? See, the Government of India has launched a scheme for promotion of bulk drug parks, which means Government of India is giving a lot of infrastructure support, monetary support, and created dedicated parks where these raw materials can be manufactured. All right. So if Government of India gives basic facilities, infrastructure and finance for the development of or manufacture of these chemicals, don't you think that the price of these raw material will be very low, cheaper raw material? Yes, that is what the government is doing. Government of India has also launched production-linked incentive for bulk drugs by giving 6,940 crore rupees. So the government is going to give this money, 6,940 crore to industries which become a part of production linked incentives scheme. If you can sell more, you will get more incentives. Remember, I told you this. Similarly, the government of India has launched production linked incentive for pharmaceuticals by allocating 15,000 crore. So this one, pharmaceutical, is different from bulk drugs. Bulk drugs is the raw material, most important chemical. If you remove bulk drug, whatever else is there in pharmaceutical, for that we have another production linked incentives. Then we have a third production linked incentive scheme, which is production linked incentives for domestic manufacturer of medical devices. So guys, during COVID, what did you observe? A lot of medical devices were in great demand. Ventilators, MRI machine, X-ray machine, oximeter, thermometer, nebulizers, all these things. These are medical devices. So the government of India has allocated 3,420 crore for production linked incentive related to medical devices. Which medical devices? Greenfield projects, which means if somebody wants to start the construction of new factories to produce these devices, you will get support from Government of India under this scheme called production linked incentive. So this is typically a production linked incentive scheme here. Number 4 is that scheme which is going to give incentives only to greenfield projects, which means projects which are new, which are started from scratch. This is the condition for this one, right? So basically, what are the 4 different type of medical devices which will be covered under this scheme? So radiology imaging, nuclear imaging devices like MRI machine, X-ray machine, etc., ultrasound. Number 2, anesthetics and cardio, respiratory. Then renal care and implants like implantable electronic devices. Implants means those things which are planted inside, right? Planted inside the body, etc. So these are the 4 types of devices which will be manufactured under production linked incentive scheme number 4. Now guys, let us come to MSMEs. MSMEs means micro, small and medium enterprises. This is the soul of India, backbone of Indian economy. Let's look at some of the important facts related to MSMEs. What is the share of MSMEs in India's national income? 33%. This is the share of MSME in India's national income. So if our national income is 100 rupees, what is the share of MSMEs? 33 rupees. Now, what is the employment generated by MSMEs? Close to 11 crore rupees is the employment generated by MSMEs. Now, what is the share of MSMEs in export? So, the share of MSMEs in our export is 49%. So, look at this. Their share in India's national income, employment and export, very, very high. That is why MSMEs are called as the backbone of Indian economy. What are some of the important or recent initiatives in the field of MSMEs in India? So, let's look at this. Number 1 is new definition. So, the government of India has given a new definition related to MSMEs. Number 2, Udyan Register Portal 2020, very important. And number 3, new entry in MSME definition. So, MSME definition has been expanded. There are some new entries inside it. And next is Champions Portal. These are the 4 recent initiatives in the field of MSMEs. Let me explain them one by one. Alright guys, so let us have a look at the new definition of MSMEs in India. So see, now we have this table. This I have taken from economic survey, the latest economic survey. So we'll follow this definition. So there are 3 types of industries here under MSME. First is called micro, second is called small and third is called medium industries, right? So micro is small and medium. Now how do you decide whether an industry is micro, it's small or medium? It is decided based on 2 parameters. Number 1, what is the investment level by this industry in plants, machines and equipment? So whenever you create a factory, do you buy machines, equipments? Yes. Plants means that factory. So whatever is the investment level in plants, equipments and factory, right? Plants, equipments and machines. That is one of the criteria to check whether the industry is micro, small or medium. So whenever the investment in plants, machine and equipment is less than 1 crore, right? And the turnover is less than 5 crore. So suppose I sell 1 pen in 1 year. The price of this pen is 1 lakh rupees. So what is my turnover? 1 lakh, right? Whatever is the value of the commodity that I have sold in the market, that's my turnover. So when the investment in plant, machine and equipment is less than 1 crore and when is the turnover is less than 5 crore rupees, those types of industries are called as micro. When the investment in plant, machine and equipment is 1 to 10 crore and your turnover is between 5 to 50 crore, you are called as small. When your investment in plant, machine and equipment is 10 to 50 crore and your turnover is between 50 to 250 crore, then you are called as medium. So if you note carefully, what has the Government of India done? Government of India is defining micro, small and medium industries based on two parameters, investment and turnover. Why has the government done this? Now, Government of India earlier used to define these industries with lesser value of investment and lesser value of turnover. I'll give you an example. Suppose earlier the government used to say that if your turnover is less than 10 lakh rupees, then only you will be called as micro industry, and whatever schemes or benefits that government is giving to micro industries will be given only if your turnover is less than 10 lakh rupees. Now the Government of India, when it fixes 10 lakh rupees is the turnover, Government of India is indirectly motivating those industries to remain small. Because suppose I am an industrialist and I know that Government of India will give the benefits to me by calling me micro industry if my turnover is less than 10 crore. I will keep my turnover less than 10 crore. I will never become big. So indirectly, I am using this scheme of Government of India to remain small. So our industries never became competitive. And when you remain small, the quality of your product is also not good. So now the Government of India has increased the threshold that even if your turnover is up to 5 crore, 4.9 crore, 4.99 crore, which means around 5 crore, even then you will be called as micro industry, and whatever schemes are applicable for micro industries, you will get it. You will get the benefits. So this definition has been revised. This is the new definition which the Government of India has created, where the value of investment and turnover has been increased so that the MSMEs who were very small in India, who used to remain small thinking that if we remain small, we will get more benefits from government. Now even they can become big and yet they will continue to get the same benefits which they were getting earlier. That is the relevance of this definition. Fine. Now, which are the schemes currently which are mentioned in the economic survey which are related to MSMEs? So you have this scheme called as Udyan Registration Portal. So for example, if I am an MSME and I know that Government of India is giving me subsidy, etc. So I need to register myself on this portal. And registration on the portal has been made very easy. So the moment I register on this Udyan Registration Portal, so I can continue to get the benefits which is meant for MSMEs without proving through so many documents, so many rules and regulations that yes, I am MSME. You simply go to Udyan portal, you register yourself, and Government of India will continue to give you benefits related to MSMEs. Now, look at the second thing. Second is retail and wholesale trade now included as MSME. For this, I have to give you an example. You see, let's have a look at this box, please. In this box, you would observe that there is a bank. Suppose this bank is giving a loan of 100 rupees. Every bank in India is supposed to follow some rules and regulations. Suppose a bank in India is giving 100 rupees as loan. RBI says, out of this 100 rupees, approximately 40 rupees should be given to some specific borrowers. For example, those who are in the business of export, those who are in the business of renewable energy, farmers, startup companies, etc. These are those sectors, export, renewable energy, agriculture, startup. These are those sectors of the economy who normally don't get a lot of money because people don't trust them, right? So RBI has made a rule that if a bank in India is giving loan, suppose 100 rupees, almost 40 rupees out of this 100 must go for these sectors where normally money does not come. This method of giving money to these sectors is called Priority Sector Lending, PSL. And every bank has to follow this rule. Of course, this 40% figure changes from one type of bank to another, but generally 40%, suppose. For our example, 40%. And this 60 rupees can be given as general loan to anybody by the bank. This is called as priority sector lending. And every bank has to show it to RBI that they have given this 40% as priority sector lending. So typically priority sector lending is for export, renewable energy, agriculture, startup, etc. Now Government of India did something interesting in the new definition of MSMEs. I'll give you an example. When you go in cities and towns, what do you see? Do you see street vendors who are selling tea, coffee, small toys, right? Notebooks on the road, right? These street vendors, because of COVID, also suffered losses. And they find it very difficult to take loan from bank. Bank would not give loan to a street vendor. So what did the Government of India do? Now the Government of India says that if you are a street vendor, we will call you as retail trader. Similarly, the Government of India has also introduced wholesale traders. So wholesale trader who sell bulk goods and retail traders who sell small amount of goods. Both these retail and wholesale traders have been included in the definition of MSMEs now. Example, street vendor. So earlier street vendor was not a part of MSME, but now this street vendor is a part of retail trade. And you know, retail and wholesale are a part of MSME. So street vendor is also a part of MSME. But the benefits that the street vendor will get will only be limited to priority sector lending, which means street vendor has been included in the list of these priority sector. So if a bank is giving 100 rupees as loan, now this 40 rupees which bank was giving to priority sector, it can also be given to street vendors. And it will be called as priority sector lending. This is the new reform. And this might be asked in UPSC prelims or interview. All right. Now let us come to Champions Portal. What is this Champions Portal? You see, this Champion Portal is based on ICT based technology, information, communication and technology. So it's basically a technology whereby Government of India is trying to solve the problems of MSMEs. So if I'm an MSME, if I have a problem, if I'm a part of this Champions Portal, I can put all my problems there. This Champion Portal would connect me to grievance redressal and my problems might be solved. This is a faster way of solving problems and issues and helping the MSMEs. So what is the theme of this model which the government is following in Champions Portal? It's called hub and spoke model. What is hub and spoke model? So in the hub and spoke model, there is one entity which is the core entity, which is the most important entity. Like Ministry of MSME, it is the hub. Hub means it is the focal point, core. And this Ministry of MSME has established different offices and institutions in different states of India. So suppose Ministry of MSME is sitting in New Delhi, and across different states and union territories of India, you will see different offices and institutions which are connected to a Ministry of MSME. Whenever there is any problem for any MSME sector, they report the problem to those offices, institutions, the problem comes to this ministry and they solve it. This is how they launch schemes, they solve problems. So there is an interconnection between hub, the most important ministry, and its sister concerns, its offices and institutions. This is the new development in the field of MSME. Now let us get into the details related to textile sector. See guys, a basic fact sheet for you. So for example, textile industry is the second largest employment generator after agriculture. Can you believe it? So textile industry provides huge number of employment to people. Hence, it is a very, very crucial industry for India. So roughly, that the economic survey says that approximately 10.5 crore is the employment provided by textile sector, direct and indirect employment. Majority of these people, so these 10.5 crore people who work in the field of textile sector, a majority of them are women, which is very crucial. All right. So we must pay attention to our textile sector. Despite lockdown, you know, in lockdown, all the sectors and industries were impacted. But despite lockdown, the recovery in textile sector has been good. This is one of the bright spots in the Indian economy now. So what are some of the recent initiatives in the field of textile sector? See guys, the first initiative is Mega Integrated Textile Region and Apparel Park, MITRA, all right, 2021 scheme. And second is Production Linked Incentive Scheme 2021. These are the two most important schemes related to textile industry. Now what is this scheme? Mega Integrated Textile Region and Apparel Park. This is very interesting because what it says is that Government of India is trying to provide an integrated kind of facility for the development of textile sector. So I'll give you an example. So Government of India will, for example, take this region, let's say this region, and provide basic infrastructure facilities like warehouses, like electricity, etc., in this particular area. And government will develop this area as a textile park, all right, whereby raw materials can be brought, right? Then textile industry can use the raw material to create final product, and from here the product can be sold in India and exported also. So the basic infrastructure facility related to these activities will be provided here. That's your Mega Integrated Textile Region. One of the beautiful things related to Mega Integrated Textile Regions is that it does not only pay attention to industries or manufacturing units, but it also pays a lot of attention to farmers, because ultimately the clothes that you wear, this thread and the fabric that you see, it comes from farmers only. The natural fibers, they come from farmers. For example, cotton. So cotton is grown by farmer. From there it goes to factory, right? So the origin is farmer. So this scheme says that Government of India is going to take care from stage 1, where the farmer is raising those crops, till the time the final textile is sold in the market or exported. So everything in between is going to be taken care by the Government of India. That is this Mega Integrated Textile Region Apparel. So see, that is what we have written here. So Government of India has allocated 4,445 crore for it. And government is saying that they will take care of 5 Fs. What is 5 F? Farm to fiber, which means, I'll give you an example. Suppose cotton. Cotton is, cultivated by the farmer, so farm. Fiber means cotton will be converted into fiber. Then fiber to factory. So where do you take the cotton fiber? Factory. In the factory, what happens? Fibers are converted into clothes. So fashion. And when you convert it into clothes, then you export it, right? You sell it in the market. So foreign. So these 5 Fs, right? So what is happening? Government of India is trying to provide infrastructure support so as to develop textile sector in India. And for each of the textile park, you remember I gave you this example, textile park. For each of the textile park, Government of India is giving 300 crore rupees in the name of competitiveness incentive support. So government is giving 300 crore rupees for each park so that we can have good textile industry, our prices can come down, and our products will become globally competitive. All right. Now let's get into this very interesting scheme called as Production Linked Incentive Scheme for Man-Made Fiber. This was launched by Government of India recently. It's a very recent scheme for textile fibers. I'll tell you what the scheme is. Look at this, please. There is a very small story and you will understand it in a minute. Suppose we are talking about Indian textile, right? So what are the types of different fibers that India exports to the world? So suppose you take a look around Indian textile industry, you will see that 75% of our export related to textile is cotton textile, which means natural fibers. So 75% of our export is cotton based textile. 25% of our export is man-made fiber. Man-made fibers is fibers which we create in the laboratory through chemicals like polyester. It's a man-made fiber, it's not a natural fiber. So 25% of our export is man-made fiber, 75% of our export is cotton textile. But if you look at the global demand, you will see something very interesting. Globally, the demand for cotton textile is 25% and the demand for Man-made fiber is 75%. So if in the world 100 kilogram textile is demanded, 25 kilogram cotton and 75 kilogram of man-made fibers are demanded. But what is India exporting the most? India is exporting more of cotton fibers. World is demanding less of cotton fibers. India is exporting less of man-made fibers. World is demanding more of man-made fibers. This is precisely one of the big reasons that India has lost out to Bangladesh and Vietnam in the global textile trade. This is one of the big reasons. Government of India wants to correct this. So what has Government of India done? Government of India has launched a production linked incentive for man-made fibers, right? And under it, the Government of India is allocating almost 10,683 crore rupees. So if any textile industry is trying to become competitive, they want to produce more, they want to compete globally, so they can become a part of the scheme. And this scheme is expected to generate 7.5 lakh new employment, and specifically this scheme is trying to benefit those backward areas which have huge potential in the field of man-made textile. Potential is there, but currently they are not producing a lot of man-made fibers, but potential is there. Which are those states? Gujarat, UP, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Andhra, Telangana and Odisha. Here the potential to manufacture man-made fibers is huge, but currently the output is not that great. Alright, so these are some of the schemes that we are following for textile. Now, you would have heard from me a lot about production linked incentives, right, throughout the lecture. So I thought, why not create a dedicated section on production linked incentives so that you also understand what are the details related to it. Plus, there is one more scheme which I want to talk about, which is called as Parak. Right? These are the two schemes which we will talk about, which you will find in the field of industries. So you will see these two schemes a lot in the newspaper. So first we'll start with production linked incentives. I'll give you basic idea of production linked incentive scheme. You see, why did India go for production linked incentive? What is the story? So I have a very small story and a brief explanation for it. One of the aims of Government of India since very long was that they wanted to convert India into a global hub for electronics industry. This was the aim of Government of India since very long. We wanted to be global leaders in electronics. For example, manufacture of mobile phone, laptop, etc., etc. Computer keyboards. Now, we could not become a global manufacturer of electronics. We are not the leading players. Why? Because of lack of infrastructure, lack of R&D, finance is very costly. If I want to start an electronic industry, I need money. Finance is very costly. The design capacity is not there, which means R&D is not there. So design is also poor, it's not very good. Similarly, skill development is also not there. So skilled labor force is required for electronics, that is not there. Electricity is a problem as well. Right? So because of these problems, we could not become a globally superior electronic manufacturing hub. So if you compare the Indian electronics with rest of the world, in rest of the world, the electronic industry thrived and became good because the raw material was there, skilled labor force was there. So their price of the product, electronic product, is lower and quality is good. But if you look at the problems faced by India, because of these structural problems and infrastructure problem, the quality of our electronic products is not very superior, it's low, and our prices are high. So we could not become a globally competitive electronic industry. Government of India tried to improve it. What did they do? They created a plan called as National Policy on Electronics 2019. This is the plan the Government of India created. Under this National Policy on Electronics, you see that Government of India launched a production linked incentive for large scale electronic manufacturing in 2020. So we launched a scheme called as production linked incentives for large scale electronic manufacturing. Now what did we do inside it? We tried to give a lot of incentive to mobile phone manufacturers in India. What was the result? In the year 2014, India was manufacturing 50 million mobile phones, which was just 20% of our demand. Alright? which could fulfill only 20% of our demand. But in the year 2020, after this production linked incentives, you see 260 million mobile phones were manufactured in India, which was sufficient to cover 90% demand in India. 90% demand of mobile phone in India could be covered using this production. This gave hope to our policymakers that yes, production linked incentive scheme is working. And the government of India started to launch more production linked incentive scheme. Electronics was the one where we saw good results, so we thought we'll launch more of production linked incentives. So another scheme was launched, production linked incentive for IT hardware. For example, tablet computers, etc., etc. For that, production linked incentive has been launched. There is another scheme in India. So there is a scheme called as SPECS, Scheme for Promotion of Manufacturing of Electronic Components and Semiconductors and Modified Electronic Manufacturing Cluster 2.0. These two schemes have been launched in India to increase capital assets in electronics, which means that the government of India is trying to motivate the electronics industry to get good machines, good technology, financial support through these two schemes. Similarly, Government of India has also launched a scheme for semiconductors and display manufacturing ecosystem. Display as in guys, so TV screens, LED, computer monitor, right? Plus semiconductor. Where do you use semiconductor? You use semiconductor in automobile, in computers, in spacecrafts, all those places you use semiconductors. Government of India launched a scheme to promote semiconductor because so far India has been importing semiconductor from other countries like China. And now the production of semiconductor and the price of semiconductor in the world has increased and the production has come down. So Government of India saw that our automobile industry has been badly affected. Our mobile industry has been affected. So Government of India has launched the scheme to promote the manufacture of semiconductor within India by allocating 7,600 crore rupees. These are the things that we have done to promote electronics, etc. Fine, and this was our motivation for production linked incentive schemes. Now, I have already explained to you the basics of production linked incentives. Remember, I told you that if you increase the sale, government will give you incentives. So this is that diagram. Now, what are going to be the potential benefits of production linked incentive scheme? So if you give production linked incentive scheme to your factories, what are the future benefits that India might get? It's very simple, I'll tell you. So if I am a manufacturer of mobile phone and if you are the government of India and you are giving me incentives to manufacture more mobile phones in India, what is the benefit? Number one, it will create employment. Yes, see, expected employment 60 lakhs, new employment is supposed to be created. If you manufacture more mobile phones in India, we can export it too, right? So see, our exports will increase, our imports will come down, right? And plus cheaper imports will come down. So if you don't manufacture something, then somebody else from China will sell it to you. So cheaper imports. So this will come down. Similarly, our domestic manufacturing capacity will improve and we will become globally competitive. So if Government of India gives me money to manufacture more mobile phones, better mobile phones, then I will create good quality product at low prices and I will become globally competitive. And if Government of India creates production linked incentive, then our industries will get a chance to become huge global players called as global champions. Similarly, it will help us to increase the capacity of domestic sunrise industry. What is sunrise industry? Sunrise industries means upcoming industries which have future potential. So for example, semiconductor, right? Textiles, defense related industries, right? All these things, mobile phone, all the electronics, all these things have huge future potential. If you give them good support like production linked incentives, then they will give you future results. These are the expected benefits of PLI scheme. Here I tried to capture, because everywhere you will listen that, production linked incentive scheme is there, it is helping the economy, blah, 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 all these things. So here I have created a timeline that when production linked incentive scheme started in India and what is the phase in which it developed. So in April 2020, for the first time, Government of India introduced production linked incentives for 3 sectors. See, which are the 3 sectors? Large scale electronics, as I told you, the story started there. Then pharmaceutical ingredients and medical devices. In November 2020, see, after April, November 2020, the government included 10 more sectors in production linked incentive. And then in the budget 2021-22, Government of India said that these are the 13 different sectors where production linked incentives will be applied, and government allocated a fund of 1.97 lakh crores, and government said that production linked incentive scheme would be a very important part of Atmanirbhar Bharat because it is helping us to become self-sufficient and also helping us to export. So this was announced in the budget. Now in September 2021, see guys, September 2021, Government of India included a 14th sector in the production linked incentive scheme called as drones and drone components by allocating 120 crore rupees. So if somebody will ask you how many sectors are currently covered under production linked incentives, you should say 14. In the budget 21-22, which means last year's budget, total 13 sectors were identified. This year one more sector has been added, so it is 14 now. Alright, so total 14 sectors are a part of production linked incentive scheme. So as I told you that after production linked incentives, we would also talk about one more scheme which has been helping the industries to improve the quality of their products and services. What is the name of that scheme? So the name of that scheme is PARAK, which is a Unified Laboratory Network 2021. What is PARAK? So you know what Government of India has done? Government of India has created a system whereby all the accredited, which means recognized laboratories of India, it has been incorporated and it has been mapped into a Geographic Information System, GIS. So whenever you have a laboratory which has been recognized by Government of India, there are different labs. What do these labs do? These labs test the quality of the product of the industries. Like suppose an industry is manufacturing mobile phone. You want to know whether the quality of their mobile phone is good or not, isn't it? So where would you test the quality? In the labs. So wherever you have laboratories, the Government of India has found out which are the recognized laboratories by Government of India, and they have mapped it on Geographic Information System. So all the industries of India would have access to this system. They can take their products there and they can check the quality. If the quality is good, they can of course put it on the label that yes, this quality is good. They can charge good prices for it. Internationally also it becomes easy to export such products. Alright, so these are some of the schemes related to industries. Now we will get into infrastructure and see what are the latest development related to infrastructure sector in India. You see, this is one of the questions which UPSC asked in this year's mains GS paper 3. They asked a question that what is the role of infrastructure in a developing country like India? So before we start the discussion on infrastructure sector, let us take a very small discussion on the role of infrastructure in a developing economy like India. In fact, what I'm going to explain to you is applicable for any economy of the world, whether it is developing economy, developed economy, but it is even more pertinent for a developing economy like India. So see, this is the role of infrastructure in economic development. Number 1, multiplier effect. Number 2, positive externalities. And number 3, crowding in. These are the 3 most important effects of infrastructure on economic development. So let us try to understand what is the meaning of all this. For that, we will take an example from real life and then see how it works. So see, here you have a farmer, right? What is the farmer doing? The farmer is cultivating some crops. You know that there are many villages whereby there is no road which will connect the village of the farmer with the nearby mandi or market. There are many such villages where there are no pakka roads, there are no good roads. In fact, because of these reasons plus lack of storage facility, many a times the farmers are also compelled to throw away their crops. They are not even able to take their crop to the market because simply there is no road and there is no storage facility, right? So earlier assumed that there was no road. This farmer requested the government for a road. Government constructed a road like this. What is the cost of construction of the roads? Let's say it is 30 lakh rupees, right? Government constructed it. The moment this road is there, what will the farmer do? The farmer will immediately take his crop when the crop is ready, and the farmer is going to transport this crop to the nearby mandi. In that mandi, the farmer will sell the crop. And let's suppose that the total business that the farmer does through this road is approximately 60 lakh rupees to 90 lakh rupees. He is not the only farmer. There are so many farmers. So suppose the crops are sold in such a way that the total business is 60 lakh rupees to 90 lakh rupees. So what did you observe? Just with a 30 lakh rupees road, look at the business that you are generating, which means your expenditure on infrastructure creation is 30 lakh. But the addition to the national income, because see, when a farmer sells the crop in the market, that money is added in the national income of India. See, the increase in national income of India is more than 30 lakh rupees. Now, looking at this road, a food processing industry also comes here. All right. So this food processing industry is taking crops from the farmer and they are converting, for example, potatoes into potato chips, right? And then they are transporting those potato chips using this road to the local market, isn't it? So what is the business generated by this potato chips company, food processing industry? Worth rupees 1 crore of business they generated just because there is a road, right? Had there not been a road, this factory would not have been established here, isn't it? So if the government invests 30 lakh rupees on the construction of the road, look at the increase in national income of India, 60 to 90 lakh here and 1 crore here. So if we invest this small amount in the construction of infrastructure, our GDP increases by this much. This phenomenon is called as multiplier effect of investment, right? So this is what is multiplier effect. So where did you see the multiplier effect? You saw the multiplier effect here, ME, multiplier effect here. Now, second thing that you could see in the economy is this. See, now that you have a road and now that you have farmers who are producing crops here, there are many food processing industries who would be motivated and who would be lured to come and establish their factories here. So if government spends or invests 30 lakh rupees on the construction of road, these private industries, food processing industries, they come here, not one industry, but many such food processing industries would come. They would take loan from the bank and they would start their factories here, right? This is called as crowding in. You see this phenomenon, crowding in. What is the meaning of crowding in? Meaning of crowding in is when government expenditure increases, G means government expenditure. Remember 30 lakh rupees on the construction of road. It leads to increase in private expenditure. How did private expenditure increase? See, this food processing industry, they spent money to create this factory. So if government spends 30 lakh rupees on road, private sector also spends money in the construction of factories, running of industries, etc. This is called crowding in effect. So what did we observe? When we have new infrastructure, so multiplier effect happens and GDP of India increases. Crowding in effect happens, investment increases, GDP increases, isn't it? Now there is a third effect which is even more beautiful. What is the third effect? See, this farmer has a family, this farmer has kids. Earlier, these kids were not able to come to the nearby school or nearby hospital for treatment. If, God forbid, if they suffer from any sickness, etc., they only had one option, which is a local village hospital or primary healthcare center. Now they can come to secondary or tertiary healthcare center. They can also attend good schools and colleges because they can use this road for that. This phenomenon is called as positive externality. What is the meaning of positive externality? You created a road and the positive effect of road is helping somebody else. For example, this road was created for farmer and industry, but even kids can use this road for better education, health, etc. This is called as positive externality. So what did we observe? If you create infrastructure, especially in a developing country like India, so through multiplier effect, through positive externality and through crowding in effect, the country progresses more. Our GDP increases, inclusive growth happens, isn't it? And balanced development happens, right? This is the role of infrastructure. Now guys, we look at the three most important developments in the year 2020 and 2021 related to infrastructure sector. Now the first one is called as PM Gati Shakti. Second one is National Infrastructure Pipeline, and the third one is called as National Monetization Pipeline. Now, if you look carefully, National Infrastructure Pipeline and National Monetization Pipeline, they are inside this particular figure. But if you look at PM Gati Shakti, it is located outside, isn't it? Which means PM Gati Shakti overlooks both these schemes. But what is the connection between these three and what is the meaning of these three? That is what we are going to examine. To explain to you what is National Infrastructure Pipeline and National Monetization Pipeline and what is PM Gati Shakti, I have created some diagram and flowchart for you, which will help you to understand the entire scheme. See, this is the diagram and the flowchart. Now, look at that. Let us start the story from there. All right. So, what do you observe here? We observe something called as $5 trillion economy. Now, Government of India made a promise to the people. Policymakers promised us that they are going to convert India into a $5 trillion economy, which means our GDP would be $5 trillion. They said that they are going to make our GDP $5 trillion by the year 2024-2025. This was the promise. Now, question is asked to the Government of India that how are they going to make India a $5 trillion GDP economy? All right. So, the Government of India is very smart. They tell us that they are going to improve agriculture, industry and service sector. And if these three sectors are doing good in the economy, of course, our GDP will improve. So, agriculture, industry and services. But the Government of India is even more smarter, and then it tells us that, see, for agriculture, industry and services to do well, you have to give infrastructure to them. Remember our example which we just discussed, that if you give road to a farmer, to a food processing industry, how the GDP of India will go up, right? Similarly, Government of India says that if we provide good infrastructure to agriculture, industry and services, automatically there will be multiplier effect, crowding in and positive externality, and GDP of India will increase, isn't it? Which means if Government of India spends this much on infrastructure, our GDP will increase by this much. This is called multiplier effect, right? So the Government of India launched a program or a scheme called as National Infrastructure Pipeline, NIP. See, National Infrastructure Pipeline. This scheme has been launched for a period of 5 years, 2020 to 2024-25, right? Now, what is going to happen in these 5 years? Government of India says that they are going to invest almost 111 lakh crore rupees, roughly $1.5 trillion. This is the amount of investment which the government is going to make. The Government of India is going to make this investment on 9,000 infrastructure related projects. Roughly, it will cover 34 infrastructure subsectors. What is the meaning of subsector? Subsector would be road, railway, bridges, all these things are subsectors. So what is the government expenditure that the government is going to make? 111 lakh crore or approximately $1.5 trillion in 9,000 projects, 34 infrastructure subsectors. But which are those infrastructure projects where maximum out of this money is going to be spent? So if you look at energy, here 24% of this money will be spent on energy, on road 19%, urban infrastructure 16%, railway 13%, which means if you add all these things, roughly 72% of 111 lakh crore rupees will be spent on these four infrastructures. All right, 72% of 111 lakh crore will be spent on these four. Next question that is asked to Government of India is that how is Government of India going to arrange this 111 lakh crore rupees or $1.5 trillion? Does government have enough of fund to finance this construction of this infrastructure? No. So the Government of India says they are going to depend upon multiple sources of finance. For example, sources of finance could be central government, state government, private sector, and an innovative source of finance called as National Monetization Pipeline, NMP. This is going to be the innovative source of finance. So the government says they will use central fund, state government support, private sector and NMP to arrange this 111 lakh crore. Now, look at this. Let us focus on National Monetization Pipeline. Government of India says that this National Monetization Pipeline program is going to run between 2021 to 2024, which means 4 years. In these 4 years, through National Monetization Pipeline, the Government of India plans to raise rupees 6 lakh crores to create infrastructure in India. So look at this, guys. So this 6 lakh crore which will be arranged through national monetization pipeline, this 6 lakh crore will be used in this 111 lakh crore fund. So out of 111 lakh crores, 6 lakh crore will come from national monetization pipeline. Now what is national monetization pipeline and what is the model? To understand this, let me take you through this example. And before this example, let me show you this. So if I ask you a very simple question, can you tell me a few assets which the government of India owns? It's a very simple question, isn't it? So if you look around yourself, you will see there are roads, airport, railway stations, stadiums, isn't it? Government building, office, the new parliament which is being constructed, right? The PMO, the land of the government. There are so many things which are the assets of the government of India. The mobile towers, right? Now, out of these assets, let us pick up a few assets and let us try to understand their property. For example, let us pick up railway stations and airport. What is so unique about it? If you pick up railway station, airport, bus stop, what is unique thing about these things? These are those infrastructures which the government directly provides to people. So when a government directly provides some infrastructure to people or some utilities to people, that is called as core assets. For example, road, railway, urban infrastructure, power, pipeline, telecom, warehouses, seaport, airport, these are directly given by government to people. Hence, they are called core assets. Core assets are of two types. One is Greenfield core asset, right? And one is Brownfield core asset. What is Greenfield core asset? Greenfield core asset means new assets. Assets which are created from scratch, absolutely new. You construct a new house, that is called Greenfield house. And what is Brownfield? Already existing one, which means old one. Already existing or old. So if I have a house which has, been gifted to me by my parents, and that house is like 70, 80 years old, that's a Brownfield asset. So Government of India has something called core asset. Core asset means those assets which are directly given to people by Government of India, right? And there are two types of core assets, Greenfield and second is Brownfield, right? There is another type of asset called as non-core assets. What is the meaning of non-core asset? Look guys, so land and building of Government of India. For example, Parliament. The Government of India does not directly give Parliament to people and tell them that, hey, in the morning between 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., we will convert Parliament into a vegetable market. No, it doesn't happen. So the land and the building of Government of India is called as non-core asset because it is not directly given for public consumption or public use. Now, Government of India says that if they have road, railway, seaport, airport, etc., government is going to pick Brownfield core assets, which means out of this list of core assets, government will pick anything it feels like, but it should be Brownfield, which means not anything new, but existing. For example, government might pick up an existing road or existing airport, right? So whenever you have an existing road or airport, do you think that they will be in perfect condition or there will be some damage also because of regular use? There are some damages also, right? So Government of India picks up a damaged road, etc., or an airport, and the government gives that road or airport to private sector for a fixed period of time, 30 years, 50 years. And the government tells the private sector that private sector has to repair and maintain that airport and road for 30 years, 50 years. Private sector can collect money from people, and private sector has to keep the money, some part of the money, and rest the private sector has to give to the government. So in this model, both the earning of the private sector happens and government also earns some amount. Let me show you through a diagram. So look at this guy. This is the government. This is a road, and these spots are the damages in the road. Similarly, you can have an airport. So there is a road, there is an airport, and there is a government. So Government of India gives the airport, for example, to a private sector. Now, what kind of airport is given? Core. Airport is a core asset plus Brownfield airport, which means airport which already exists. It is like giving something on rent to a private sector. So the private sector takes the airport. The private sector repairs the airport, maintains the airport and runs the airport. And private sector collects fee from the passengers. So suppose private sector collects 100 rupees per passenger. Right? Out of this 100 rupee, suppose private sector keeps 70 rupee and private sector gives 30 rupees to the government. So the earning of the government also improves. So either private sector can give regular payment to the government or private sector can give collective one lump sum payment to the government. Like at one go, private sector can give 3,000 crore, 5,000 crore to the government. Why? Because private sector got this airport. Now once the government gets that money, the government uses that money in the construction of new infrastructure somewhere else in the country. I'll give you an example. Suppose I have a house, right? Old house. I put that house on rent for 30 years. And I told my renter that, either you give me monthly rent, yearly rent, or you give me lump sum amount of, let's say, 80 lakh rupees or 1 crore rupees for next 30, 40 years. When I get that amount, I take it and I invest it in some other thing. For example, I can buy a new house using that money, or I can buy anything using that money, right? I can create a factory, a business using that money. This model is called as National Monetization Pipeline. What is the meaning of monetization? Meaning of monetization is to convert something into money. So earlier, this airport was not given to private sector. So this airport was not being converted into money. But the moment government gives this airport or road to private sector for repair, maintenance for 30, 40 years, the private sector in return gives some money to the government. For example, suppose private sector gets a road like this, and it has happened in India that 3 roads were given to an Australian company for repair for 30 years. So Australian company actually has 3 roads in India which they are repairing, they are maintaining, and they are doing everything. They are keeping the road in good condition. In return, the Australian company gave 10,000 crore rupees to the government of India. Government of India used this 10,000 crore rupees to create new infrastructure in the country. This model is called as National Monetization Pipeline because it's like giving something on rent to private sector for a fixed time period. And after 30 to 40 years or 50 years, the road and the airport is returned back to the government. Fine. So this is your National Monetization Pipeline. So if a question is asked, what kind of assets the government gives to private sector? So the answer is core brownfield assets. All right. Now, core brownfield assets are huge. It can be anything. So which are those core brownfield assets which are the most important part of this program called National Monetization Pipeline? So see, the government of India has created a list. Government of India says that they are going to give some assets on rent to private sector and collect 6 lakh crore rupees. Which are the most important core brownfield asset which will be given to private sector under National Monetization Pipeline? Roads, railway, power, oil and gas and telecom. So the government of India is planning to collect 6 lakh crore rupees by giving asset to private sector. Out of 6 lakh crore rupees, 27% of 6 lakh crore rupees will come from road, 25% of 6 lakh crore rupees will come from railway, 15% of 6 lakh crore rupees will come from power sector, means electricity, oil and gas 8%, telecom 6%. Roughly 81% of 6 lakh crores, which means roughly 5 lakh crore will come from these 5 sectors, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 81% of 6 lakh crores. So this is 6 lakh crores. 81% of this will come from these 5 sectors. That's the plan of the government. So if somebody will ask you, what is National Infrastructure Pipeline and what is National Monetization Pipeline? Now you know the connection, right? Now I have a question. In National Infrastructure Pipeline, I told you that Government of India is going to construct 9,000 projects in 34 infrastructure subsectors. And you very well know that different kind of infrastructure is handled by different departments and ministries of Government of India. So for example, for energy, we have another ministry, road, another ministry, urban infrastructure, another ministry, railway, another ministry, airport, another ministry. So that these ministries work in a coordinated manner, they don't fight with each other. and they don't create problems with each other, Government of India has created a program called as PM Gati Shakti. What is PM Gati Shakti? Under PM Gati Shakti, there are almost 16 different departments of Government of India, 16 different departments and ministries which are engaged in infrastructure creation in India. The Government of India has told these 16 departments and ministries to share the data related to infrastructure with each other. When they share the data related to infrastructure with each other, they don't fight. And in fact, they cooperate each other in creating infrastructure. I'll give you an example. Suppose I am Ministry of Road and Transport. I am planning to construct a road. This road is located near a forest. So I will put this data on the website. Ministry of Environment and Forest are also putting data on the website that they are planning to remove all the roads from that forest area. So if I'm Ministry of Road and Transport, I will see that, oh, Ministry of Environment and Forest has called it as ecologically sensitive zone, which means I cannot construct a road there. So I call up Ministry of Environment and Forest and ask them that, hey, I belong to Ministry of Road and Transport. I'm planning to construct a road in a forest. Can I do that? Ministry of Environment and Forest says no. So see, if both the ministries are putting their information on the website under the same information sharing system of PM Gati Shakti, then we can reduce wasteful expenditure. Imagine if Ministry of Road and Transport would have constructed a road in forest, and Ministry of Environment and Forest would have removed it. It would have been a wastage of public money. So to remove these kind of ambiguities and wastage of public expenditure, PM Gati Shakti has been created. It's less like a scheme of economics, it's more like a scheme related to governance. So PM Gati Shakti will coordinate all the works of the ministries and departments which are related to infrastructure. So guys, now let us examine some of the important infrastructure sectors of India. So let us begin with road transportation. You see, if you look at the year 2014-15, per day road construction in India was 12 kilometers. If you look at the year 2020, every day on an average, almost 36.5 or 37 kilometers roads were constructed in India. Look at the jump. So earlier you were constructing 12 kilometers a day and now you are constructing almost 36.5 kilometers a day. Of course, the expenditure on road construction must have increased over time. So see, over time, government expenditure on road construction has increased, and this statement can be asked in UPSC. This can be asked as a factual question and this can also be asked as a factual question. All right. Now, let us look at one important program by Government of India called as Bharatmala project. See, Bharatmala is for construction of road. So who travels on the road? Only people, or you also see, goods being transported through roads. That is called cargo, both, right? So who uses road? Road is used by people for transportation of people, right? And road is also used for transportation of goods. So under Bharatmala project, which was launched in the year 2017, the Government of India was focusing on the highway sector, which means construction of highways. For what? For movement of goods as well as people. What was the focus area under Bharatmala project? Focus area was to create economic corridors. For example, Government of India would construct roads so that those roads can lead to industrial development, right? So those kind of roads are economic corridors. Then the Government of India also focused on constructing roads in the border areas for strategic reasons, for security reasons. Connectivity, northeast connectivity. Government of India has been, spending a lot of money and focus on constructing infrastructure in the northeast of India, which for a very long time remained slightly cut off from rest of the country. So the Government of India has been trying to integrate northeast of India border regions with the mainland. Now, if government invests a lot of money on construction of infrastructure, don't you think that employment will be created? Both skilled labor force, unskilled labor force, semi-skilled labor force would be absorbed in the construction of infrastructure? Yes. So these are the focus areas of Bharatmala. This can be asked in UPSC prelims. Now guys, Bharatmala project has been, launched in two different phases. So look at Bharatmala phase 1, Bharatmala phase 2. So in Bharatmala phase 1, 35,000 kilometers of expressway, border roads, etc. These have been constructed. But now, there is something which has come into light. So the target was to complete a certain, construction of roads, but the target got delayed by 4 years and we could not achieve the target in time under Bharatmala phase 1. So UPSC can ask you that what is the main reason that we could not achieve the target under Bharatmala phase 1? So the answer is land acquisition has been a problem. Land acquisition in India is a big problem. Why? Land belongs to state. Land is a state subject. So if government of India wants to construct some infrastructure, it has to, take land, keeping state government in the loop. So land acquisition has not been smooth. We don't have a clear-cut land acquisition policy which we can use across India. So that's a big problem. Because of that, there is delay in the launch of the project, in the completion of the roads. For example, suppose government of India starts the construction of the road and there is some land dispute. So unnecessary delays, etc. And when delay happens, cost of construction goes up. That is called as cost overrun. Then COVID happened. Because of that, there was a lockdown and the workers returned to their villages, which means because of these 3 reasons, there has been a delay of 4 years in meeting this target under Bharatmala phase 1. Bharatmala phase 2, 5,000 kilometers road have been identified. All right. And here 35,000 kilometer road, here 5,000 kilometer road. So Bharatmala phase 1 and 2. Now guys, let us come to railways and see what is happening in the railway. So, the freight traffic in railway is increasing. Look at the year 2013, 17 and 21, which means movement of goods is increasing in the Indian railway. So, industrialists are using railway to move their goods. Similarly, look at the passenger earning. So, railway was, earning a lot of money, revenue through passenger movement, but around the COVID time, see what has happened. So around the COVID time, you will see that it has started to come down, which means because the rains were not running, people were not moving out of their houses, there was lockdown, so passenger earning came down. All right. So it is inverted V shape, passenger earning, and freight traffic is increasing, which means movement of goods is increasing in the railway. What is the share of railway in the movement of goods in this country? Movement of cargo? Almost 27 to 28%, right? So if 100 boxes are moving in this country, 27 boxes are moving through railways, right? Is Government of India very happy with that? No. Government of India wants to improve the contribution or share of railway in the movement of cargo in this country. Government of India wants to improve it from 27% to 45%. All right. So if there are 100 boxes which are moving in this country, government wants that half of them should move through railway. Because railway movement is very quicker, there is no traffic like you see in the road, so there is no such traffic in the railway, etc. So it's a smooth, method of transportation of goods. Let us now look at some of the important railway reforms that has been mentioned in the economic survey. So the economic survey says that there is something called as National Rail Plan 2030, and then there is Vision 2024. These two have been mentioned. Right? So what is National Rail Plan 2030? Now, the population of India is increasing. Government of India is also promoting a lot of manufacturing and industries. So movement of goods would also increase in future. So are we future ready? Is Indian Railway future ready to carry so many people, through its railway network system? The answer is honest no. Right? So in an honest manner, if you answer this question, that railway is not future ready. So the government of India has created a national rail plan whereby the government's focus is to make Indian railway future ready. The government says that by the year 2030, we would add so much of capacity to the Indian railway that Indian railway can take care of the requirement of the Indian economy till the year 2050, which means by the year 2030, improve the railway to such an extent that railway can take care of the needs of Indian economy till the year 2050 safely. Which means prepare today in such a manner that for next so many years, you don't need to prepare. You are ready. That is called future ready. All right. So this is mentioned in the National Rail Plan. What else is mentioned in the National Rail Plan? That we want to increase the share of cargo in the Indian Railway from 27% to 45%. Next thing that is mentioned in the National Rail Plan is public-private partnership in Indian Railway. Guys, think about it. Does Government of India have so much of money or resources that alone they can provide all the services to people? They can create a railway network, using their own money? Impossible. No government in the world has sufficient resources to fulfill all the demands of the people. So the government of India also said we will take the help of private sector. So government has planned to run private trains in this country, right? So this plan has already been started by government of India, and government also has launched something called a station redevelopment program. So if you go to Bhopal, if you go to Ahmedabad, right? If you go near Bhopal, so earlier it was called as Habibganj. The name has been changed now. So if you go to some railway stations of India, you will see that they don't look like normal railway stations. They look like some kind of business center or commercial center. There are shopping complexes, there are railway stations, world-class amenities for passengers, so 5-star hotels, everything packed in one infrastructure. So it's a solid infrastructure which is a commercial center. So Government of India is planning to reconstruct railway stations into commercial hubs of the city, right? That is called Station Redevelopment Program. Now similarly, so this is called as National Rail Plan 2030. Now let me tell you the connection. So guys, suppose this is your National Rail Plan 2030. And inside it, the Government of India has put so many things that we want to do all these things, right? So, but inside National Rail Plan 2030, there are a few targets which the government must achieve in short term. For example, you cannot wait till the year 2030 to reduce railway accidents. You cannot wait till the year 2030 to increase electrification of railway. These must be achieved quickly without wasting time. So in the National Rail Plan 2030, there are some targets which must be achieved immediately without wasting time. These targets are called as Vision 2024. So the Government of India has said that the government wants to achieve some objectives which they have already started. It's unfinished agenda which the government wants to achieve in short term, even before 2030. By 2024, they want to achieve it. So Vision 2024 is nothing but it's one of the set of targets from National Rail Plan 2030 itself. All right. So Vision 24 is nothing. It's a part of National Rail Plan. So what is mentioned in Vision 2024? 100% electrification of railway, increasing average speed of Indian trains. This is mentioned. Plus there is something very interesting. It says that there are some projects which have already been started in Indian Railway, but it has not been completed, right? So the government has divided all the ongoing projects into two parts. One is called as supercritical projects. One is called as critical projects. What is supercritical projects? So there are 58 projects which the government wants to achieve by December 2022. Then there are 68 projects which the government wants to achieve by March 2024. So these 58 projects are called as supercritical because government wants to achieve them quickly, and 68 are called as critical because we still have some time to achieve them. All right. So this is mentioned under Vision 2024. So now guys, let us come to aviation sector, which is one of the most crucial sectors of India. You see, India has huge population. So of course, the aviation sector of India is one of the fastest aviation markets in the world. Why? Because of sheer population, right? Huge population, huge market. So any country in the world who is running airline industry, they would like to come to India because of huge population and huge scope. Now, if you look at the year 2013-14, how many people flew domestically in India? How many people used airlines in India as a mode of travel? 61 million people. They traveled in India, domestically. In the year 2019-20, just before COVID, 137 million people flew within India. So domestic flight. Look at the growth. So it means that India has huge scope in the aviation sector. Now, Government of India knows that India is a very unique kind of country. There are people who can afford costly tickets. Then there are people who cannot afford costly tickets, 7,000, 10,000 rupees tickets. So the Government of India thought, why not start a scheme so that we can connect, suppose this is India. So the Government of India wanted to start a scheme to connect this part of the country with this part of the country with this part with this part, which means we wanted regional connectivity, improved regional connectivity within India. Government also wanted to make sure that our airline industry becomes such that a normal Indian can afford the air tickets also. But running an airline like this is not easy. It's costly. So if you cannot force a company to reduce the ticket prices, because if you force the companies to reduce ticket prices, they will run in loss, right? So what did Government of India do? Government of India started to give some subsidies to these airline industry, some selected airline industry, and told them that, hey, look, if your ticket price is 5,000, charge only 2,000 from people. Government of India was giving subsidy in different forms, 3,000 rupees subsidy to the airline industry, right? So Government of India started such scheme. So let us have a look at those schemes. So guys, first of all, let me show you this scheme, this one. So this scheme is called as UDAN. See, what is this scheme? UDAN, or Regional Connectivity Scheme 2016. All right. So what is the aim of this scheme? As I told you, regional aviation market. So this scheme wanted to promote regional aviation market. For example, we wanted to connect Delhi with northeast of India, isn't it? Delhi with Jammu Kashmir, increase the connectivity. Now, affordable air travel for small town. Government of India wanted the small town also to use aircraft services. Now, how would it help? It will improve the economic development's pace and rate of growth, rate of economic development. It will also lead to more job creation. I'll give you an example. So suppose, guys, that, I am a businessman and I am not going to northeast of India because there are no airlines. So if I travel through train, it will take a lot of time. But I genuinely want to invest in the northeast of India. I see a huge potential there, but I can't go there every time. Why? Because there is no aircraft service, and aircraft service is very costly. So what do? So I don't go there. Government of India wants that people from one part of the country should go to another part, and there should be no geography in India, no region of India which should be isolated from rest of the country. So we want more regional connectivity. If you increase regional connectivity, investors will come in your geography, right? So your young generation can go to different places and they can acquire new skill and they can come back to their place and they can start a new business, right? So this leads to more economic development, increase in job creation, right? This was the aim. What is the feature of the scheme? That Government of India started to go to different parts of India like northeast, and they started to create airports. The government started to create the airstrips and airports. Why? Because to bring an airline you need an airport. So the Government of India started to create airports. Government of India also started to give financial support to some airline industry so that they can become a part of the scheme called UDAN. I told you, Government of India was motivating the airlines to sell 5,000 rupee tickets for 2,000 only by giving them some kind of subsidy, right? So this scheme called UDAN has completed, see how many phases? So UDAN phase 1.0, UDAN 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 and 4.1. These are the phases of UDAN. So what have we achieved in different phases? Let's see. So in UDAN 1.0, what did we achieve? So 5 airlines were given 128 flights. So Government of India allowed 5 different airline companies to run 128 flights to 70 airports of India. This was UDAN 1.0. Now in UDAN 2.0, 73 unserved and underserved airport. Underserved means that there the number of flight services were very less than required. Unserved means there was no flight service. So 73 unserved plus underserved airports were covered under UDAN 2.0. Now helipads were also created for the launch of, so that helicopter movement can also start. In UDAN 3.0, the Government of India paid attention to create those airports which would lead to increase of tourism. Government of India started to cover those geography or regional areas where tourism can be increased. So in this phase, UDAN 3.0, Government of India also included seaplanes, right? So which can land and run on water surface as well. And in the northeast of India, the number of routes covered under UDAN 3.0 was increased. So northeast of India was given more coverage. UDAN 4.0 in 2019, its focus was northeast, which means regional connectivity of northeast, hilly states and islands. And in UDAN 4.0, Lakshadweep was connected by new flights. So look at the focus areas. In every phase of UDAN, the focus area is different. So like in UDAN 4.0, focus area is inaccessible areas, right? Difficult geography. So northeast, hilly areas, island, etc. These are all strategic things. Similarly, in Udan 4.1, the government of India's focus has shifted to small airports again. So see, connect small airports with rest of the country, and new helicopter and seaplane services have also been started. So this is how Udan has worked. Now I want to ask you a question. Do you feel that Udan doesn't have a problem? Udan has been a super successful scheme with no issues at all? No. In Udan 1.0, I emphasized that 5 airlines were given permission to run 128 flights in 70 airports, right? So when permission was given, are these airlines using all the airports and all the permissions that have been given to them? Suppose I am an airline. I am, for example, let's say Indigo Airlines, all right, or Go Airlines. Now I have been given permission to run 10 flights in 20 different airports of India. Am I using all the permissions? No. Why? Because the subsidy given by Government of India under the scheme called Udan is not sufficient. Suppose the ticket price is 5,000. Government of India is giving me a subsidy of 2,000 and I am charging 3,000 from the passenger. It is not enough. Government of India is not giving me enough of subsidies. So that's problem number 1. Problem number 2, infrastructure in the airport is also not that great. So airlines are not very motivated to run their aircrafts on those airports because infrastructure of the airport is also not that great. So because of these reasons, this scheme is not a 100% success, but yes, it's a promising scheme. Now, let us look at some of the other developments that has happened in the field of aviation. So see, these are some of the initiatives that the Government of India has taken in the field of aviation. So unmanned aircraft system or drones. Do you remember in the previous videos we had discussed that Government of India has launched a new drone policy where the rules and regulations related to drones have been liberalized, right? Made easy. Government of India has also launched production linked incentive scheme for drone manufacturing within India. So yes, that's one of the steps. Second is national monetization pipeline. Remember, we just covered national monetization pipeline that Government of India is giving airport to private sector for a limited period of time, like 30 years or 50 years. Those private sector are supposed to maintain the airport, repair the airport and run the airport. They will collect some fee from the passenger. They will keep their cost of operation and rest of the money they have to pass on to the government, right? So which are the airports which will be given to private sector under national monetization pipeline? An airport can be given to private sector under national monetization pipeline if it fulfills 2 conditions. So 2 eligibility conditions so that an airport can be given to private sector under national monetization pipeline. And guys, this can be asked in UPSC prelims. Number 1, the airport traffic must be greater than 0.4 million passengers. Which means that there is a certain threshold that this airport must be used by basic number of people. So basically 0.4 million passengers at least must use that airport. Only then it will be given to private sector for maintenance, repair, etc. Now, second eligibility condition for airport is the airport with a sizable capex plan under NIP. What is NIP? National Infrastructure Pipeline. And I told you what is Government of India doing under National Infrastructure Pipeline? The Government of India is putting money, investing money in construction of infrastructure in this country. So what is capital expenditure? When the government invests money in the construction of new infrastructure. So those airports where the Government of India has planned to put money, under National Infrastructure Pipeline, so to increase the facilities of the airport, etc. So those airports which are getting good coverage under National Infrastructure Pipeline, only those airports will be given to, private sector under National Monetization Pipeline, right? Now, one of the new developments related to aviation has happened, which is privatization of airports in India. So see guys, so in the year 2017, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, they actually gave a green signal that yes, Air India can be privatized. Air India was running in huge debt. Air India was making super losses, right? So what did Government of India do? They tried to give away Air India to private sector in the year 2017, 18, 19, 20. They did not succeed. Finally, Air India, 100% ownership of Air India was given to Tata's. 100% ownership of Air India Express has also been given to Tata's, and 50% ownership of Air India SATS has been given to Tata's. These three have been given to Tata's, and in return, the Tatas have given 18,000 crore rupees to the government. There was bidding by different players. Tatas won the bid because they gave the maximum quotation, which is 18,000 crore rupees. And Tatas got this 100% ownership in Air India, 100% ownership in Air India Express Limited, and 50% ownership in Air India SATS. All right. So now, guys, we are going to get into the port sector. And let's see what are the developments related to ports in India. And by the way, do you think that ports are important? Of course it is. Why? Because when a country gets into international trade, you will see that bulk of the goods are, transported from one country to another through water channel, through waterways. So ports are very, very important. Now, before we start this port, discussion of port sector and what is India's position in it, let us discuss a few basic things. For example, do you think that Indian port services, which means Indian ships, they charge you high amount for their services, or do you think the foreign ships charge you high or larger amount for their services? The Indian ones. So if you transport your goods through the foreign carriers or foreign ships, their cost is less. Indian ships are costly. Now, there is one more problem that you see in India. So, for example, suppose, guys, that, India, for example, suppose puts a lot of goods in a ship through containers. We put a lot of goods in a ship. That ship goes to USA, delivers the goods. We get the money. The ship comes back. Now, when a ship comes back, the question is, how long does it take for our ship to be ready for another tour? That time that a ship takes to be ready for another trip is called as a turnaround time. Turnaround time would depend upon the infrastructure facilities available on Indian ports and harbor. Do you think Indian ports and harbors are best in the world, and the infrastructure and facilities that we have is one of the best in the world? No. So our infrastructure and other things, facilities that are available on the port and the harbor, if we can improve it, the turnaround time of the ship would also come down. When the turnaround time comes down, we can save a lot of money. I'll give you another example. So for example, you are preparing for UPSC. Now suppose you study a chapter. After studying a chapter, you take a small break of half an hour, then you study another chapter. This is efficient use of your time and your capacity. But suppose you study one chapter in one day for 2 hours, and then you take a break for rest of the day. And the second day you study second chapter. Can you imagine the amount of time you are wasting, isn't it? You could have used that time for some other productive purposes. You could have completed your syllabus in time. So your preparation journey will become unnecessarily lengthy if you take a long break between 2 chapters. Is that a message? No, of course not. I was just giving an example. So similarly, if a Indian ship goes to US, delivers the goods, comes back to India, how long does it take for the ship to be ready again? So that time is very, very important. That time should be minimum. And when will that time reduce? When we provide good infrastructure in India, So with this story, let us first get into some facts related to the ports of India, and then we would see some of the schemes and other things. So fact sheet, what are the 2 types of ports? The first type of port is called as major port. So how many major ports are there currently? 13. Minor ports close to 205. So what are major ports? Ports which are maintained by the central government. Minor ports typically maintained by state governments. Now, if you look at the maritime transport, which means trade that happens through sea route. So if you talk about India's trade, 95% trade by volume, which means that if we are sending 100 boxes in international trade, 95 boxes, which means by volume, 95 boxes, they are, traded using sea route, and 70% of trade by value, which means money terms. So 95% trade by volume, 70% trade by value in India, it happens through maritime transport. That is the importance of sea route. Now, average turnaround time of Indian ports is 56 hours at major ports, which means at these 13 ports. So on an average, the ships take 56 hours to turn around and be ready for another journey. Earlier it was higher. So now it has come down to 56, which is a good improvement, by the way. There is further scope of improvement, but even now it is good. Now let us look at some of the efforts by Government of India in the field of shipping. So look at this, guys. So as I told you that foreign shipping companies, their charges and their cost is less than Indian shipping. So if I am an Indian businessman, would I make use of Indian ships or foreign ships? I would use Indian ships very less. So Government of India noticed it, and you know what government started to do? Whenever a ministry or a department or a public sector enterprise, which means government company, whenever they required to use the ships, they started to prefer Indian ships, domestic shipping companies rather than foreign. Why? Because they wanted to promote Indian shipping industry. If you hire foreign ships for your service, so suppose I'm an Indian producer and I'm manufacturing these pens and I want to export this pen to South Africa. I use a foreign ship. So of course I will have to pay them, right? So why to pay? If at all you are paying, pay it to your domestic company, right? Because if you keep paying to foreigners, your foreign exchange reserve will be depleted, right? So the Government of India started to promote Indian shipping by offering the ministry or the public sector enterprise related shipping jobs to domestic companies. Now, Government of India has also allowed 100% foreign direct investment through automatic route, which means now you don't need to take permission. If there is a foreign company which wants to invest in India in construction of ports and harbor is a place where the ships take rest. You know, that's a parking place. So on ports and harbors, if somebody wants to construct ports and harbors in India, 100% foreign direct investment through automatic route is allowed, and also for maintenance, right? So please remember this for UPSC prelims. Now, maritime vision. Government of India also came up with Maritime Vision 2030, just like we have National Rail Plan 2030. So if you implement Maritime Vision, we will create better infrastructure at seaport, which will help us to save cost. If you create better infrastructure, the shipping cost of Indian ships will reduce, right? Isn't it? We will save a lot of money. So we will save close to 6,000 to 7,000 crore rupees if we improve infrastructure related to ports in India. And if you promote infrastructure related to ports, of course, employment will also be generated. Now, there is one major scheme related to ports in India, which is called Sagar Mala. So guys, just like you have Bharat Mala for national highways, economic corridors, expressway, which means Bharat Mala was for road construction. Sagar Mala is for port construction. So what is Sagar Mala? To explain Sagar Mala, see, I have this small diagram for you. So guys, suppose this is India. This is your port. This seaport is already there, which means it's an old seaport. So whenever you talk about old seaport, don't you think that we must modernize our old seaport? We must create better infrastructure there, improve the facilities? Yes. So the first thing that we are planning to do is improve and modernize the condition of the old seaport. Plus, don't you think we should create new seaports also? Construction of new seaports should also happen simultaneously. Yes. So Government of India is planning to improve the condition of old ones and create new seaport. That's number one. Number two, suppose guys, there is a firm here. This company manufactures automobiles. There is a seaport nearby. Now, how will you carry automobile from this company to the seaport? Of course, you need roads, railway, flight services, right? Which means you have to improve the connectivity of your ports with other facilities in the country. So, for example, you have to connect your port with manufacturing units, warehouses, through road, railway, etc. so that, goods can easily be transported from factories to the port, and from ports they can be exported. So that is the second one. Third one. Now, if you look carefully, the third target that we want is that, around these ports, don't you think that we should create a system so that along the coastline of India, we can create some suitable industries which are environment friendly, of course, right? Small food processing units can be created, furniture industry can be created, isn't it? So along the coastline, nearby this port, suppose we fix up a radius and we promotes the creation of some industries, local industries here, isn't it? So this concept is called as coastal economic zone. All right, so what is coastal economic zone? Along the coast of India, coastline of India, you take a seaport, and around that seaport you try to develop some basic industries which are environment friendly. This will lead to more employment, it will also lead to manufacturing. So that is one thing which we can do. Fourth, don't you think that when we are doing port-led industrialization, because you are promoting industrialization in and around the port area, don't you feel that local community, fishermen and local population should also be given skills so that they can work in those industries? Yes. So local community can be given skill so that they can also work in those areas. All these four things are a part of something called as, see, Sagarmala. So what is Sagarmala? See, let's first talk about when was Sagarmala started, what are the basic things related to Sagarmala. So see, Ministry of Shipping, they created a policy called as National Perspective Plan 2016, all right, to improve ports in India. Now they allocated a budget of almost 5.54 lakh crore rupees, almost 6 lakh crore rupees budget was fixed for it, for National Perspective Plan, right? Now, what is the aim of this plan? The aim of this plan is port-led development. I showed you port-led development, and the second aim of this plan is to improve the logistics in such a way that export and import through Indian ports become less costly. When you improve the infrastructure, of course, your shipping cost would come down and export and import would become cheaper. What are the four components of Sagarmala? See guys, so first is modernize the existing port and create new port. I already told you this. Now improve port connectivity via rail, expressway, waterway, etc. and develop the skill of fishermen and create industries along the coastline. These are the four components of Sagarmala, and Government of India has already announced that they have picked up some states along the coast and they are trying to create local industries there. Alright, so this is your Sagarmala. Do remember it for prelims and mains, please. So guys, now let us start the analysis of a new infrastructure sector called as inland waterways. Now what is the importance of inland waterways? See, suppose you are an industrialist, alright, and you are manufacturing automobile. And where are you? You are in the state of Odisha. Now you want to take your automobile to different parts of this country. Right? You want to take your automobile to Gujarat, Rajasthan, Jammu and Kashmir, etc., etc. You can transport your automobile through road. You can use flight services. You can use railway. But don't you think that road and railways are very congested? What if there is a river in Odisha and you can put all your automobile, which means you are manufacturing cars and bikes, you can put everything in a ship. That ship can travel to different parts of India in a much more efficient manner and much more cheaper manner. Yes, that is what Government of India is planning to do. So the Government of India, Government of India wants to promote the movement of goods and cargo within India through water channel. So they have declared 111 national waterways in India. And what will be the job of these waterways? To help in the movement or transportation of goods across the country. Now, let us look at some of the reforms related to it. See guys, let me show you one picture. So suppose this is India and suppose this is a state and suppose there is a river. So when a ship moves within a state, suppose a ship is there, it is moving within the state. It is called as intra-state movement of ships. But suppose when a ship from one state goes to another, that is called as interstate movement of ship. So in 1971, an act was passed which is called as Inland Vessel Act 1971. What did the act talk about? The act talked about the intra-state movement of ship, which means the movement of ship within a state. But when the ship used to go outside the state, this act did not have much clarity. There was gray area. There always used to be conflict, right? Plus, every state used to create their own rules and regulation related to movement of ships. So there was no uniformity in the country related to movement of ships. So the government of India in 2021, last year, passed, a new act, and this act now has become invalid. So the new act is called Inland Vessel Act 2021. What does it talk about? This Inland Vessel Act 2021 talks about two things. One, about intra-state movement of ship, which means movement of ship within a state and movement of ship between states. So these are the things it talks about. Second, it also talks about safety measures. Whenever a ship is moving, what should be the minimum number of people, who should be there, what should be the safety measure. It also talks about promoting tourism. So these are some of the things that has been mentioned, in this Inland Vessel Act 2021. In fact, there is a report by Government of India which says that because of this Inland Vessel Act 2021, now that the ships can easily move within a state and outside a state, MSMEs will benefit. Why? Because the cost of movement of goods will come down because it's not very costly, right? So this water movement of your goods through water is not very costly. So it will benefit the MSME sector a lot. That is what it is written in one of the Government of India's reports. So now guys, let us come to telecom sector. Now before we come to telecom sector, do you remember that in our previous video, we have already discussed about something called adjusted gross revenue and some of the reforms related to telecom sector? Yes. So we have already discussed one or two reforms related to telecom in the previous videos. In this video, we will discuss some new things related to telecom. So see, first of all, basic fact sheet related to telecom. So see, India is world's second largest telecom market, of course, because of population, simple. Number two, let's look at the number of telephone subscribers in India. Look at the numbers, 1,201 million. So approximately 1,200 million is the number of telecom subscribers in this country. I told you it's a big country, huge population. Out of this 1,200 million telephone subscribers, 45% are in rural area, 55% in urban area, which means if we are able to create policies whereby we want to create inclusive growth and development, we can easily do it through telephony, because even in rural areas, the coverage of telephone is very, very decent in India. Because out of these telephone subscribers, 45% are in rural area, which means if we want to take any policies close to rural area, we can easily do that if we create the policy keeping these telephone subscribers in mind. So for example, the concept of e-rupee which the government created, right? Through e-rupee, the government wants to provide subsidies to people, etc., those who have telephones in their hands. So guess what? 45% of the phone subscribers are in rural areas. So a good thing, right? Now, let's look at internet penetration. In 2005, how many people were using internet in India? 302 million people. Now, in 2021, 833 million people. Look, it has more than doubled, isn't it? So it's a huge penetration, internet penetration. Now let us look at a project called as BharatNet project. One of the ambitious plans of Government of India has been to promote the penetration of internet in all the parts of the country, so that digital education, e-governance, and e-banking, e-health, all these facilities, telemedicines, all these facilities can be taken to different parts of the country only if you have internet. So Department of Telecom under Ministry of Communications, they started a program called as National Optical Fiber Network 2011. This program was started in India. Its name was changed and it was called as BharatNet now. Alright, so its name has been changed. Now when BharatNet was created, the ultimate objective is same, to improve internet connectivity across India. So when the name was changed, the Government of India said that they want to take good internet connection, broadband connection to 2.5 lakh gram panchayats of India. And why do they want to do that? Because the government wants to promote e-governance, e-health, e-education and e-banking through internet. Now, if you look at the BharatNet project, it has two phases. In phase 1, the Government of India said that they want to take internet to 1 lakh gram panchayats. In phase 2, the government of India said that they want to cover all the gram panchayats of India. So in phase 1 and 2, all the gram panchayats of India, the government said they are going to cover it. What is the money involved in this phase 1 and 2 in BharatNet? Almost 42,000 crore rupees. In phase 3, 19,000 crore rupees is involved, and the government of India has said that we will provide, state of the art, latest kind of internet services to the people of India. And in phase 3, the government of India has selected 16 states, and government has said in these 16 states, there are 3.61 lakh villages where the government of India wants to take internet, like in phase 3. But in phase 3, there is something very unique, public-private partnership model. So in phase 1 and 2, the government of India was taking internet services to the gram panchayats on its own. But in phase 3, in these 16 states, 3.61 lakh villages are to be covered. Here the government of India is taking the help of private sector in taking internet to villages. This is the new addition in this BharatNet program, which you must remember for UPSC purposes. So now guys, let us look at the power sector of India or electricity related infrastructure. You see, let us look at some basic fact sheet. So see, in India, few years back, not 5 years or 6 years, but long time back, India was considered to be a country with acute shortage of power. We did not have enough of electricity so as to sustain the power supply in rural area, urban area, etc. We were always a country running in power deficit. From that position, we have come to a stage where we have become self-sufficient in electricity, more or less. It's a huge journey we have traveled in last so many decades, isn't it? So it's something that we should be proud of, irrespective of governments, etc. All right. Now, if we look at the electricity generation in India, I have already showed you this some time back. If you look at the electricity generation in India, you will see that the contribution of nuclear energy is 3%, the contribution of renewable energy is 10%. Renewable means solar energy, wind energy. The contribution of hydro means water related energy, electricity, so is 9%, and the contribution of thermal power is 78%, right? So if somebody asks you a question that which source of electricity generation is growing very fast in India, so the answer is these two, renewable energy and thermal based energy. So we generate electricity using different sources: nuclear, renewable energy, hydel power plants, and thermal energy. These are used to generate electricity in India. Growth in renewable energy because of government's policies and growth in electricity based on thermal power is increasing in India. These two are pushing India's electricity generation potential. All right, you must remember this for prelims. Now, let us look at green energy corridor and let us look at its importance. Let us look at the concept. You see, this is called as power grid. What is a power grid? Now, I told you that electricity is generated in India using different sources. For example, coal, diesel, nuclear energy, all these things are used to generate electricity in India. And whenever we generate electricity, where do we take it, store it? In the power grid. So from all the sources using which we generate electricity, ultimately the electricity goes to power grid and there it is stored. Now, Government of India is planning to promote renewable sources to generate electricity. And government says that we will do it across India. We will go to different parts of India and we will generate electricity through renewable energy, wind energy, solar energy, etc. That electricity which is generated through renewable sources, that electricity will also be integrated with the power grid. So in power grid, electricity will come from two sources, conventional sources like fossil fuel, etc. and also through renewable energy sources like solar energy, wind energy, etc. So both these sources will contribute electricity in the power grid. And from this power grid, electricity will be transmitted in different parts of the country. What is the target that the Government of India has set related to renewable energy? So by 2030, we want to create 450 gigawatt of electricity through renewable energy sources. What is the benefit of it? So guys, if you don't burn coal, the carbon footprint in the economy will come down, isn't it? So if you use more of wind and solar energy, it's a long-term energy security. Why? Because one day your sources of fossil fuel is going to end, right? Diminish. But solar energy, wind energy, you can use for a very long period of time. So it provides energy security. You can depend upon them. Number two, carbon footprint comes down. Plus, if you promote more wind energy, solar energy, etc., create more solar cells, solar park, and all these things, so it will provide direct and indirect employment also, which is also good thing for economy, right? So now look at this. So see, this is called as green energy corridor, and let us look at different components of green energy corridor. So green energy corridor has two components, component 1 and 2. In component 1, you will see that there is interstate green energy corridor. Interstate would mean that the green energy corridor covers more than one state. So state 1, state 2, state 3, right? So this is called as interstate green energy corridor. What is the target under interstate green energy corridor? The target is to create almost 3,200 circuit kilometer transmission line. So government of India wants to create a 3,200 circuit kilometer transmission line which will run across states in India, one state to two state to third state to fourth state, something like this. And it was already, according to economic survey, it has already been completed by March 2020. Which are the states which were covered under it? Gujarat, Andhra, Karnataka, Himachal Pradesh, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. Let's look at component number 2 of green energy corridor. This talks about intrastate green energy corridor transmission line, which means this talks about the transmission line of electricity within the state. All right. So what is the target capacity? 9,700 circuit kilometer, transmission line to be completed by June 2022. June 2022 is not far off. So this is the target which the government of India has set. Intra-state means within the state. So which are the states which are to be covered in component 2? So Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu and UP. These are the states which are covered in component number 2. Now guys, let's have a look at COP26. What is COP26? COP26 is Conference of Party number 26. So this conference was held in Glasgow. This was related to climate change. And when was this conference held? November 2021. In this conference, what did India promise? India has promised that we are going to, meet 50% of our energy requirement from renewable energy by 2030. All right. So currently, what is the contribution of renewable energy in generation of electricity? 10%. So we are saying whatever energy we need, out of the total energy requirement, 50% energy requirement, we have promised that we will, fulfill it through renewable energy like solar energy, wind energy, all that, right? So we want to reduce our dependence on fossil fuel. We want to increase our dependence on renewable energy sources. That's our promise, that 50% of our energy will be based on renewable energy. Second promise by India is that non-fossil fuel power, which means electricity generated through solar energy, wind energy, nuclear energy and all these things, this will be almost 500 gigawatt by the year 2030. These are the two promises we have made, that by the year 2030, our electricity generation capacity through non-fossil fuel will be 500 gigawatt and 50% of our energy needs will be met through renewable energy sources. Now, are we trying to say that India is transitioning from fossil fuel based, coal based economy towards a renewable energy based kind of economy? Transition is happening, right? So the economic survey says that when you are trying to transition to clean energy, means coal based energy, renewable energy, to something cleaner like solar energy, wind energy, nuclear energy, it's a transition. So economic survey says that when you are trying to transition from fossil fuel to a clean energy, you must keep in mind two things. Number one, transition to clean energy and renewable energy source. So which renewable energy are you trying to focus? Like India is trying to focus on solar energy, wind energy. So that you should keep in mind, that which energy you are targeting. And number two, they are saying, economic survey says that you must keep in mind that if you create more energy, more electricity, let's say through solar energy, wind energy, etc., you create electricity. How will you store it? Where will you store it? So first is to move to a cleaner source of energy like solar energy and wind energy, and second is where to store it. That becomes a challenge. Now, to store electricity or power, you are going to use a lot of minerals. For example, aluminum, copper, iron, nickel, lithium and graphite. Typically, these are the minerals which are used to create alternative sources of power. So for example, you might have heard about lithium-based battery and cells, isn't it? So these are typically the minerals which are used to store power. Now, in the economic survey, they have made a very interesting thing. They have said that if you try to move towards cleaner power like solar energy or wind energy, you must not delay in it. Because if you delay more, minerals like aluminum, copper, iron, nickel, lithium and graphite, these things will slowly become very costly in the world because every country in the world is trying to do the same thing. They are trying to move to cleaner energy. So the sooner you try to move towards cleaner energy, the better, because later on these things will become very costly. So this is called as early mover advantage. So Government of India is trying to do the same. They are trying to take early mover advantage by speeding up the process of transition to clean fuel. Number two, economic survey says that if you want to transition to a cleaner fuel, you must increase research and development related to it. Renewable energy, right? Spend some money in research and development. One point which the economic survey has said is, you must not depend on one source of energy. You must diversify your sources of energy. Otherwise, you will land up in crisis. For example, they have taken the example of Europe, and they have said in Europe, recently there was a crisis because of the supply of gas. It became very costly, the supply was less, and there was a crisis. So if you depend on only one source of energy, if that source of energy is not available or it becomes costly, then you are in crisis. So always diversify your sources of energy. So if you depend on coal, start to move towards more of renewable energy. In renewable energy also, don't depend on one source of energy like only solar energy or only wind energy. Diversify your sources, which means don't put all your eggs in a single basket, right? So thank you so much guys for being with us in this series of economic survey videos. See you very soon with the next topic in the next video on economic survey. Thank you so much.